All right, welcome everybody to episode 7 of the RF Generation Collectorcast. I am your host as usual, the lovable, adorable, and always willing to accept game donations, Duke Togo. And joining me are my normal co-host, Mr. Crabmaster. How you doing, Crabby?
Doing awesome. A little tired, but good.
Well, you probably you can share with everybody your tough work a little bit later then, huh?
Sounds good.
And also joining me, I guess we're just gonna finally just make you part of the family, Bill. You kind of like you've been hanging around long enough.
Yay!
We can just slap the co-host tag on you. So the voice you hear there is my other co-host, Mr. Wild Bill. How you doing, Bill?
Very well. Thank you very much. Good to be here.
All right, and in this episode, we're going to get into talking a little bit about some pricing and kind of how people set prices. What do you think about prices? And also kind of talking a little bit about how to kind of start collecting on if you've got a small budget, or just some different thoughts and ideas that go around that.
Oh, yeah.
Before we get too far, though, as usual, you can find us in a couple of different places. We are on Twitter at Collectorcast. You can also find the show at Podomatic. It's rfgenerationcollectorcast.podomatic.com. We do have a PayPal donate button there, so if you love the show and you want to kick us a few bucks, we really appreciate it. That money goes to help keeping Krabby fed and working hard on the show. You can also find us on YouTube. You can search for Collectorcast, or my channel is DukeTogo74. We're also on Stitcher Radio. You can find that at stitcher.com/RF Generation. And I really appreciate it if you guys download the app. Please put in the promo code RF Generation. Helps kind of build a little traffic our way. Really appreciate that. And of course, as usual, you can find us on the iTunes podcast directory. So how you guys doing today? Everything going all right?
Yeah, it's been a little bit nutty. I've been my wife and I moved into a new house, so we're still kind of in the process of settling. So it's really not been a big month for me pickup wise, but not the same for lots of other people. A lot of cool stuff.
House isn't a big pickup.
I think that's the definition of a big score.
Yeah, I mean, but I guess I didn't score it on Craigslist, so it doesn't have that same effect to me. But yeah, we're
you went to
thrilled
eBay,
be in a
didn't
nice you? Yeah.
Nice pawn shop pickup.
Yeah, he really wanted like $8, and I was like, nah, 6.
And boy, Krabby, I know you. I just mentioned a minute ago, but you've been physically exhausting yourself, right?
Yeah. We had a flood about a year ago now, and we're finally getting around to fixing up our basement. So every spare minute I've had at home for the last several weeks, we've been doing flooring, and we're just about ready to do some drywalling and painting and stuff. So
what happened? Did the local glacier start to melt or something?
Yeah, damn global warming.
Oh boy! So stop driving your cars and cut down the chlorofluorocarbons, people, so poor Krabby can have a place to live. Me, it's been like a really crazy month for me too. I was out of town for a conference at the beginning of the month for a week, came back, and my youngest actually had surgery last week, and so I've taken some time off to kind of make sure she's getting up and recouped, but she's doing fantastically, and much better off than I am. I'm amazed how quickly kids can bounce back, but she's doing real well with that.
Awesome.
So, updates, Krabby. Any more news on the bike front?
Just little tiny bits floating in. I'm actually prepping an article for the Nintendo Age e-zine, so I will unleash all the information I've gathered over the last few weeks in there in not too much longer.
Wonderful. And I wanted to say a little bit before we get too far in that I've really been pretty amazed that we've had a lot of new people coming to the site within the last month, right? You guys kind of noticed that influx?
The forum activity has been amazing. It's been wonderful.
Yeah, so if any of you guys are just listeners and you're not, a member of the site, jump on over. I mean, it's really a lot of folks coming in, a lot of good commentary and a lot of good scores and everything that people are posting. I don't know how we're ever going to get through these small scores on this episode. Boy, there's just so much that's here. And also, really, the blog posts this month have really been fantastic. We really had just a large amount of people taking the time to do some writing. Have you guys kind of seen and read through some of those?
Oh, yeah. Sometimes it'll sit there for, 2 weeks with nothing new, and it seems like there's something every day or two now.
Yeah, I really liked the second stick Slackers 3DS debate. Between that second little nubby pad on the handheld systems, and then also being a left-handed gamer and what that entails. As a right-handed gamer, I had no idea the struggles that they were going through. So it was really interesting. I really enjoyed it.
Well, they call it right-handed for a reason, so everybody just needs to figure that out. So
That's Duke Togo.
I'm just kidding, folks. I love you all. All I have to say is Frankenstick, right? You just need to get the add-on for the 3DS. Just get the Frankenstick.
Yeah, and also the can't forget that Vectrex
the interview.
Yeah.
That I read that. That was really kind of cool to see, like a homebrew developer and kind of talking about making new games for old systems.
He was so thorough with his answers. I thought it was a wicked interview. And I know that Banana's got a few more planned. He wants to hit up a couple more Vectrex developers, and I think he's already made contact with at least one of them.
That's cool. Now, do either of you have a Vectrex?
I do not. I've actually never seen one, so I'm really excited for the day that I walk around a corner at the flea market and just yup.
Yeah.
So and it's gonna sound weird, but I grew up in the arcades of the early '90s. So you saw like a Pac-Man and a Galga once in a while, but like it was mostly like Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter, that kind of stuff. And I remember the first time I played an Asteroids arcade machine, and just like when you see the kind of graphics that like a vector setup can give you, it's really hard to explain, and it's impossible to emulate on like a panel, because you really have the luminescence rather of a that those screens can give you. They're really, really cool.
Yeah, Banana's been pushing me to pick one up for quite a while now. We've been talking back and forth. He always sends me links when he sees one on sale on a forum or something. So I probably won't be too much longer, but looking forward to trying one out myself.
I almost bought one at CGE a couple of years ago. I was like, I don't really know how easy it would be to get this on the plane and whatnot, so I didn't do it. But
sit it on your lap. Buy an extra ticket.
I think I'd probably have to. The things are not really light. I mean, they're not huge, but they're not diminutive either. But they are very cool. They're kind of neat. Very distinct. I mean, definitely nothing like it at all that you're going to pick up. Growing up during that golden age of arcades, there is kind of a thing I miss a little bit of vector games. Tempest was just always so great when I would go back and play that, but I can understand, that's the days have come and gone, but they're pretty cool. If you guys ever get a chance to go somewhere that's got these machines and go play them, if you've not got a little experience with vector games, they're pretty fantastic. So we've kind of talked the last episode, I think, about Howard Phillips and kind of his Facebook page and updates and whatnot. He's been going through like piles of these games that he's got that are like unmarked, test carts or whatnot, and taking a look at what's on them. And I noticed the other day that he posted that he had 2 prototype carts of a couple unreleased Super Nintendo games. Did you guys see that?
I did, yeah. That was a beautiful picture.
Yeah, like Mer Wars, and I don't remember what the other one was titled offhand, but I think it's really amazing that he still got this stuff. He's not really mentioned what his plans are in terms of he's going to dump those or whatnot.
Yeah, and he had a whole bunch of just unnamed EPROMs in there, and like a Nintendo World Championships. And that was an amazing picture.
Yeah. So again, if you guys aren't following him, check it out. He's also got a Kickstarter going. He's a little project for a smartphone app. So kind of a new game that he's working on. So if you guys want to go over and help kickstart that, I think the lowest level to get the app is only like $10 or something. But he's also putting great stuff on Facebook. So if you're at all an old Nintendo geek, definitely check it out. That's great. Okay, so this month, as I kind of mentioned before, has been really, on the site, just in general, has been really prolific with blog posts, new people coming in, and scores. I mean, this has really just been a pretty amazing month for people picking stuff up. I don't know, it's almost like Christmas come early or something. It makes me kind of scared to figure out what we're going to get in the middle of winter. But man, there's just so much that's in here. Where do you guys want to start?
Oh, yeah, like you said, I don't even know where to start.
I mean, it'd be great just to start with all of the terrific 32X stuff that was picked up this month across several members. But if we go right from the point where we kind of ended the small scores last month, it looks like Duke has one of the cooler early grabs of the month with his JVC XI.
Yeah, or is it Xi? Or I never know what to say there.
I think the apostrophe separates the X and the I. Kind of like, I know you're not a Final Fantasy 13 fan, but the Foul C and the La C.
Yeah, which makes no sense to me. Yeah. Okay, yeah, XI is probably what I would call it, but in Japan it was the Mega Wonder or something. I think that would have been better because I don't know what the heck XI is supposed to mean, but I picked that up along with some other stuff. I think we've talked about before, but I don't constantly put it out, but often I'll put, when I've got some extra funds in the PayPal account, I'll put out a Craigslist ad just, buying, old Nintendo games and whatnot. And this was one of those responses that I got to that. It was, there was one person that had this XI and like a Game Genie, like NES Game Genie. And then there was another person that had like just a big bunch of Super Nintendo carts. And probably the more interesting one is the Super Nintendo cart guy, because he calls me up. He's like, "Oh yeah, I'm moving to Florida, and I need to get rid of this stuff. Can you just come right now?" I was like, "Okay." So I drove to the guy's house, and he's like, "Oh, all this stuff came from like another house that there was like a fire, and this is the stuff that I got out of the house." So immediately my brain's going, "Oh crap, this is going to be like nasty, smoky, water damaged junk." But no, he like pulls out this big tub full of some really awesome games that are in there. I mean, he had I think there was like a couple like Mario All-Stars. There was a Secret of Mana's, Donkey Kong Country.
As you were looking through it, did you picture a guy running out of a burning house grabbing his collection before the photo albums and stuff?
No, I mean, I guess this was after the fire was out. I guess this stuff just happened to be like in a garage where that didn't really get as much, damage from this. The weirdest part though was this gentleman was probably, I'm guessing, late 60s. And he was like literally retiring to Florida. He was just selling everything in his house to move to Florida. And seriously, I walked up, I'm just here. I'm like, "Oh, okay. So, you chit chat. That's nice." And he's trying the entire time to sell me like everything that is not nailed down in his house. He's like, "What about this? Are you interested in this? I've got like a fridge over here. Well, I got some yard equipment. Why don't you come into the house?" The guy's leading me through his house, like trying to sell me like, "Oh, here's this TV. You need a TV? How about the..." And it's like weird. His wife is in there.
Like, I had that happen once. I was buying like 40 NES carts, like back when I was before I became a complete a box collector. And this woman asked me if I wanted to buy a horse. Same thing, because she was moving, and she was like, "Yeah, I'll throw in the trailer." And I was like, I'm sorry, I just really have no desire to own a horse."
Yeah, I'm like, really? You noticed the post was like Nintendo games, right? I mean, so I obviously it was nice. I said, "Hey, if I talk to anybody, if I know anybody that's coming and look for this stuff, I'll certainly tell them." But it was like, I was afraid I would never get out of there because he was just always like, oh. And at some point I was like, "Oh, I've got to go." I didn't want to be rude, and it's some pretty cool stuff that I grabbed from him. But
definitely. And what I was thinking when I was looking through your Super Nintendo games, because I've seen you mention before that you'd like to be able to grab a Super Mario RPG cart at some point. I said, man, that really cool Super Nintendo cart, and somehow Super Mario RPG still eludes him.
Well, I don't want to give anything away, but I did get a message from another member asking if I was interested in a dupe of that. So maybe we'll see. We'll see how that pans out. But yeah, I get enough Mario Worlds and All-Stars and everything else coming out of my ears. And that's my second Secret of Mana that I've come across really easy. Like the first one, I think I picked up a Goodwill for like $3, and obviously this one didn't cost me next to anything. But
yeah, I run through those like crazy too.
I traded one of them away at some point, so I'm kind of glad to have that back in the collection.
I saw one at the flea market for $2. Like I walked up to the table and I asked the kid like how much all the games were, and he said $2. And I started grabbing like Mario RPG and Super Mario 64 and Mario Kart, all those stuff. And there was a kid standing next to me who had the Secret of Mana in his hand. So if I got there like a minute earlier, or not even, I would have had it. So
you should have just looked at him and go, "Look, dude, I'll give you $4
yeah.
for that right now."
Years ago, I used to work once a week at a record store, and he'd just pay me in records. And just one day, this guy came in with a duffel bag, and I have no idea why he needed to come up to the counter, but he came up and just poured out this duffel bag on a counter full of Super NES games.
Whoa.
Yeah, and so he's like, $2 a piece. You want any of these? And so yeah, I ended up with some like Secret of Manas and some good stuff like that.
Hey, you're like, yes, I want all of these now.
Yeah, it was weird.
So I got a couple other odds and ends from over Famicom World. So I probably mentioned that before. If you guys aren't a member of there and you want to be, it's a great little, very small community, but very much feels a lot like RF Gen in terms of like the people that are over there. So a couple things I got in from over there. I got the Japanese Arkanoid controller. So that way I can play me some Arkanoid 2 legitimately, because trying to play it with the gamepad, forget about it, right?
Yeah.
I also got the Famicom disc version of Castlevania. That's Akomaju Dracula. That's really awesome because you can save your game, so that way you don't have to try to slog through the whole game at once. Because Lord knows that's can be a little bit brutal.
Yeah, like Krabby does.
He's come on, he's a pro, but
no one pays me.
he can probably like do a perfect run of that with like no whip power ups and no special weapons, I'm sure.
No, not gonna happen.
For the regular Nintendo, I had Castlevania when I was a kid. I played it to death, so I was really kind of glad to get this because that way, it's like a lot of those. The disc system games, if you've not played them, are a lot like the battery backup games for NES. Usually you'll have three save slots. So that way you can go through and you can, kind of save at different points in the game. So that way if you want to go pick it up and play real quick, you don't have to, gotta go all the way back to death stage or whatnot.
Yeah, and the music on the discs, we've talked about it a little bit before, but it's noticeably different.
Yeah, not on that game, surprisingly.
Oh, really?
Really, they didn't really seem to take any advantage of the extra sound hardware. A lot of the games did, which is really weird, too, because that's Konami, and a lot of the Konami kart releases had extra sound in them. But and I also got a PC Engine in with the AV booster attached to it.
Are you going to start collecting PC Engine stuff?
I think so, because I've got like a TurboGrafx and I've got some games, but man, TurboGrafx is expensive.
Yeah, and I've heard that just the library is 10 times better, the Japanese library, than the US one.
Oh yeah, and yeah, really huge amount of games that are out there. So those that you may not be familiar, the PC Engine is really just the Japanese version of the TurboGrafx 16. It came out there first and then it migrated this way. And it's really kind of really irritating to me to see what they did to it over here. They really just... Because when you see a PC Engine next to a TurboGrafx, literally the system is like half the size of a TurboGrafx 16. You could just basically cut off the left half of the machine completely.
We like big over here. Bigger means better.
Yeah.
The system is so compact and so awesome for that, and then we just took it and made it this big giant ugly chunky thing full of empty plastic. I mentioned earlier that I was doing some travels for work at the beginning of the month, and the conference I was in is down in Tennessee, and we stopped at some flea markets along the way because why not, right? When you go through Kentucky or Tennessee, they have like these giant flea markets that are right off the highway that you can go to, just really quick, jump over, go through pretty amazing amount of stuff. But we went to one and they had like a couple different game things that were in there. So one seller that was there, I picked up a complete in box Jaguar memory track.
I saw that and I considered making an offer, and I somehow held back.
Are you planning on getting a Jaguar CD sometime?
I wouldn't go out looking for it if one kind of popped up locally, like
That's
even
not going to happen.
I know that's the thing. So like I do want to have a working Jaguar in my collection, but I'm not really that concerned with the Jaguar CD.
This was, I'll just say it was very affordable. That's all I'll say at the flea market. It was very affordable. So I picked that up. I immediately thought of red. And
Yep.
so I sent him a message right away and offered it to him. He wasn't interested at the time, so it's up for sale. If anybody's interested in one of those things, you can look it up and shoot me an offer. But it's in great shape. It's got everything with it, so pretty cool. I also, one thing that I've been looking for forever, I finally came across there, is a complete Phantasy Star 2.
And you get and you're a big Fantasy Star fan.
Yes, as everyone probably knows by now. Yeah, and it has the hint book, that's the part you can never find.
That's actually what I wrote down when I was looking through small scores. I was like, "Ooh, he's got the hint book."
Yeah, I mean, I actually had the whole set, from when I was a kid, when I bought the thing at the store. But being a stupid kid at some point in time, I loaned it to a friend, and guess what? Yeah, it never come home. So to run across it again complete, I was like, I really didn't even bother to look at the price tag. I mean, if anybody cares, I paid $18 for it, but I didn't care. I was like, I'm buying that. I don't care. You guys ever find just those things where it's like, I don't care. I want
that. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it just fills in a hole in my collection that I'm like, the dude could have probably put $40 on it. I probably would have bought it.
Yeah, no, I've done that at Retro Games, my retro store that I go to every couple of weeks. He had a yellow box Metroid complete in really nice shape, like crispy edges, like I opened like everything, like $30. And I probably could have talked him down, like because usually I'll go in there. I'm like, hey, like what about 2025? And like he's pretty cool. Like we work together. And I saw it and I was like, I'm not even gonna try because it's awesome. It's beautiful. I'll give you the whole thing for it.
How come I've not seen pictures of that, Bill?
I unless I totally missed out on posting that, I can get those for you.
Yeah, I don't think I remember seeing that.
I don't either.
Oh, okay.
Shame
Well,
on you.
that was my fault. I was probably just so excited about it. I just went home and stared at it for a little while.
I think it's the 32X fever has taken hold, and
It's gone serious.
shunning your Nintendo.
Yeah, don't get ahead of yourself. We got lots more 32X coming.
Yeah. Something else I also found is, and all these were in the same flea market. I also found a Mickey's Adventure in Numberland, like a really mint.
That's a tricky one to find. I'm still looking for that one.
Yeah, well, I mean, let me know, Crab. I'll put it back for you. I don't care.
We'll see.
I've had a couple offers on it, but I'm not going to let it. Okay, I'll say to other people, I won't let it go. Crabby, I'll work with you. It's very mint cart, and that's a hard one to find.
Yeah.
And I got a pretty good deal on that one, so I was pretty happy. And I really sit down and talked to one of the guys that ran the shop in the flea market, because he had like a bunch of retro games, a lot of nice stock. And most of it was fairly priced, except for his hardware was like wacky. Like all his systems were $45, all of them, no matter what it was. I mean, so, but they were all. The only thing that was interesting to me is he had a Master System too, but I wasn't going to pay that much for it. But
you don't have one yet?
I don't have a Master System 2 yet. But
Yeah, it's weird because that's the one I grew up with, and then when I got older and I wanted to find one again, all I could find was the 1, and I really wanted the 2, not because it has Alex Kidd and Miracle World or whatever built into it, just because like that's the one I had when I was a kid. And it took me a while to find one, but I finally got one a few months ago.
Yeah, I watch out like Craigslist or something. That's where I got my regular Sega Master System, so it'll probably show up eventually.
Yep.
I'm just not willing to pay through the nose for it. It's not that big of a thing on my list. But we were kind of talking and whatnot, and yeah, it's just fun to talk to people about it, because we were talking, and he was an older guy, and we were talking about the Master System stuff, and was like, oh yeah, well, the big thing everybody likes about that is because it's got the built-in games in it, and it had another like regular Sega Master System hooked up to the TV. He's like, well, this one, this old one, people don't like as much because it doesn't have a built-in game. I'm like, don't you know, it does have a built-in game. It's like showed him like the trick to get the snail maze game, and he thought that was really cool. So he gave me a good deal on stuff, and I taught him something new, and that's always fun
Very
when
cool.
you can do that.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
I also got in a Famicom box cart. If you're not familiar, in Japan, they did like the hotel game rental stuff, kind of like you get here now with like LodgeNet and all that. When you go to a hotel, you can play games. You guys have no doubt seen those, right? Where like the N64 controller will be in the room or
Yeah,
whatnot.
I've seen
Yep.
those ones.
Yep. Seen those.
Well, they had this back in the NES era over in Japan, and these units would just be hooked up in the hotel room, and it's just basically a big locked up box where the games you would just insert coins and you could play for whatever amount of time. But the carts, they look just the same shape as NES carts, but they're black and they all have the same kind of yellow label. Kind of reminds me of the same yellow label you'd see like on test carts.
It's really sharp looking. I really like the look of those colors together.
Yeah, and it's like this glossy black cart for the plastic. And so I got the Japanese version of Ghosts and Goblins for that, and somebody was selling it over on Famicom World. And again, I have no idea if it was a good price, bad price, whatever. I was just like, I want it. So I just sent a message, like, sure, whatever, I'll pay. And so that came in. That's really awesome. Very cool to be able to play that, because you can just pop it in the US system as long as you don't have, either it's a top load or you defeat the lockout, you can play it. But the look of the cart was amazing, and I think I found a new weakness now, is to trying to find more of those. They're pretty awesome. Actually, today I got a copy of Dragon Fighter in finally.
That's
nice.
an awesome one.
I've been on the lookout for that one for several people. I've a lot of people looking for that one.
That is like one of the collection enders. Like people always have that in their last 10.
Well, I had found a copy of DuckTales 2 at my local retro store, and I'll just say again, I got a really good deal on it. And
nice. Was it priced like DuckTales 1?
Yeah. I want to take a minute to talk about my local shop in a minute when I get about it, but anyway, yeah. So I bought the copy up because first off, when I bought it, I thought in the back of my head, I figured that Banana probably needed it. I didn't have his list or anything with me, so that's immediately why I bought it. I was like, okay, Banana probably needs this one. And I looked at his list, like, oh, he's already got it. So I thought, all right, well, then I'll use it like trade fodder. So I put it in my list, and then I got PM'd over at Nintendo Age pretty quick. Somebody wanted to do a trade for Dragon Fighter, and we'll talk about pricing again a little bit later as our main topic, but is there some sort of price discrepancy there? I don't know, maybe. I just didn't care. I'm like, sure, I got this for a good deal. I want that game. You want this game. Let's do it.
Yeah, I'm very similar with my pricing. Like and again, we will talk about this later, but I'm in the same boat. I've done that several times.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's cool. He got DuckTales 2 for his collection. I got Dragon Fighter, which puts me down even lower. I'm getting one step closer, which is tough to do these days. So I'm getting a little bit closer to being done. I also got in from, again, Famicom World, a complete in-box Famicom data recorder, which is something I've been looking for a long time. So those of you that may not be as familiar, in Japan, when the Famicom was out, it was the family computer. That was it. It was hence the name. And so they had the keyboard and the basic setup, so you could, actually use it like a quote-unquote full-fledged computer. And for saving, that was before the disk system and kind of all that came together, you had a cassette deck, which was very common for 80s computers. I don't know if you guys ever messed with any 80s computers.
I've seen war games.
All right. So again, I'm old. So, but in the 80s, early 80s...
Wait, were you Matthew Broderick?
Completely. I almost caused thermonuclear destruction for all of you. Sorry. But I saved you through games of chess or tic-tac-toe or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Because that's all you need to do to teach a computer is just figure out tic-tac-toe doesn't work. Of course.
Only way to win, not to play.
There you go. In the early 80s, that was the way software was saved. You did it on cassette because disk drives at the time were very expensive and cassette decks were fairly affordable. So the same thing happened with the Nintendo put out their own official cassette deck to go along with that. And it's got cords that plugs into the keyboard. And so that way you can save your programs if you type them out in BASIC and then load them again from cassette. And also for the programmable series games that are what we know as the programmable series over here. So Excite Bike, Wrecking Crew, Mach Rider, the games where you can create your own levels. You may even notice if you guys ever mess around, Excite Bike, you notice that there's that save and load.
Yep.
I'm looking forward to seeing your ramp only Excite Bike track.
That's right.
They're all oil slicks.
There you go. Just oil slicks on the heat thing, so you can just keep spinning out and cooling off. That's how you'd save. That was all done via cassette. So you would hook it up, you would hit save, and then you would record on the cassette. And that's how you would save your levels and load them. So you'd have to have the keyboard to do that. Or they also sold this other thing called the Sound Station, which I bought a little while back and also I think posted. That also had a way you could do that without the keyboard, just if you want to do like Excite Bike or those games. So this is the actual Nintendo brand cassette deck. So it's all complete. I got the instruction manual, the styro, and you guys know I'm not a huge cardboard fan, but to me this is, I don't know, I found it probably sound like a little kid, but it was really awesome. It's just like Christmas morning, you open it up, you're like,
yeah, that's cool.
It's just something you don't see very often, and to have it complete and in really great shape. It wasn't cheap, but that's okay.
I'm picturing Duke Togo doing his N64 kid impression, but screaming data recorder really loud.
About like that. So that's really cool. I'm looking forward to playing around with it. I haven't really had time yet, but it was really cool. God, I promise I'll shut up soon. I also got, I talked about my hoarder buddy. I think I found out that maybe I actually went to his house for the first time. And I think he's not a hoarder.
Did you take a gun?
I didn't go in. But let me just say that I think he supplements his income in order to maybe use some relaxants of some kind. But he had a Power Glove in there too. So I got home, I cleaned it all up, kind of checked it out. I think I talked to you, Krabby, about it too.
Yep.
When I was messing with it. But Banana said that he wanted it, so I sent that over to Banana. We'll talk more about Banana stuff a little bit later, but that went over to him. I got a Super Castlevania 4 in through a deal with another member that I've got, and again, I'm not a big cardboard guy, but I've got a complete Castlevania 4 that I've had forever, ever since I was a kid. I just have had it. And I did a trade a while back for something I really wanted, and to do that I had to trade out the Castlevania 4 cart. So I've been looking for a really nice one to go back with that set, and so I got another one of those to kind of fill in that hole. And it's really very nice shape, and I really appreciate that. Other odds and ends, boy, I got some Game & Watches in on a trade, so those were kind of cool. I got a truckload of Famicom carts. My local retro shop, they decided to delve into they've been doing imports for a while, but they decided to go Famicom. So they got like this giant box in. So the guy calls me up like as soon as they come in, he's like, they're here. So I'm like, all right. So I run over
you
there
said, I'll take them all.
Quite, but a lot. He probably got about 200 carts, I think.
So you only took a quarter of them. All right.
Yeah, about that much, somewhere right around there. I cherry picked all the really good ones and left a lot of the sports and on the oddball things. But so I go in and I'm going through, and I'm there pretty often. I buy a lot, and I don't. When I say like when I go there and get really good deals on things, it's not like I think I'm ripping them off. That's their pricing. So I don't think it's their ignorance. A lot of the time, the guys that work at the shop know that these games go for a higher price, but it's kind of just the pricing system that this company has, which is great. It works out wonderfully for me. But it's good. And we had a little conversation, and a lot of it was kind of what we had talked about before, kind of like with buying locally. And it's that, it's like, hey, we want to service people locally, and this is what we want to do. So we're not going to try to sell at eBay prices because we want these games to get there. We want people to come back and keep buying. And, they make more of their money off like the newer games, the 360 and whatnot. But, he's talking about, hey, we have this stuff in, maybe, and while you're here, maybe you'll decide, okay, well, the next 360 game you want to get too, you'll buy here, since you're in. And just a really great attitude, great talk about it. I was really impressed. But so we're going through all the Famicom stuff, and they really didn't have a lot of knowledge about it. I don't exactly know why they decided to go there. I think because they had a lot of success with Super Famicom. I think the issue they got those, they didn't exactly realize that you couldn't play it on regular NES hardware.
Right.
So they had all these games and like no way to really show them or have people play them. So I'm going through, and the first night it was just me going through and like going, okay, these are all the ones I want. I had like 40 carts that I bought. It's like and because he was like, he kind of worked with me, like, if you help me out and tell me like what's good, what I should sell for a higher price, what's junk, and I should just try to dump and do all that, I'll give you a really great deal on these. So I was like, okay. So I did. I kind of set mine aside, and I went through them like, okay, here's your really awesome games that people will want because, these are great, or they didn't come out over here, or they're just really quality titles. I'm like, here's the ones that also came out here, but people may be still interested in because they're cool. And then like, here's your, oh my God, nobody's going to want these because they're all baseball or something, So I helped him set it out. That way he could kind of build his pricing because, they're just kind of doing this from scratch. But really very, I think the highest game they even had marked in the place was one of the Fire Emblems for maybe like $13 or something.
Wow.
And it wasn't really bad. I mean, they're very affordable. So if anybody else is looking, let me know. I'll go in and look and see what they've got for you. I think they're probably going to do more. So I'd gone through and helped with that. Well, I got a call like the next day, and it's the manager guy, and he goes, "Hey, Chris, is there any way you could do me a big favor? I know you're really into this stuff. Would you happen to have any hardware or like one of the carts that have the converter in it or anything that you'd be willing to part with and bring it in?" So I did. I loaded up. I had an extra Famicom. I loaded that up. I had a little like clone system thing, and I brought my Gyromite with a converter in it. And I took them all up there, and he was really very grateful for all that. We had a nice conversation, and he really hooked me up. He was just basically like, "Look, man, I really need this stuff. I'm going to hook you up if you'll trade me this stuff. You just kind of tell me what you want, and we'll work a deal." And so I kept the Gyromite with converters because I wanted to keep it. And the other two I traded off to him. So I got a Super Nintendo, the Mini or the Junior or whatever they call that thing. Is it the 2?
I just call it the Model 2. Yeah, I don't know any names for it.
Yeah, SNES Mini, SNES 2, whatever.
Oh, you're using the SNES thing.
Yep.
So yeah, I got that, and then I got like probably, I don't know, 15, 20 more games, including some Fire Emblem and some other ones that I kind of left the time before because they were pricier. So he made a great trade to me. I really appreciate it. Glad I could help him out. And obviously I want him to do well because I want him to buy more stuff and bring it in. So it was really awesome. Very, very good deal. I'm really happy to work with him. And I think, those are, again, to me, these are the things that make the hobby worthwhile, is when you're sitting down, you're talking to people about these things, you're having a good time, you're sharing some knowledge.
Yeah, that sounds like a great day.
Yeah, I really enjoyed myself. It was really a lot of fun. So, and I turned him onto the site, so hopefully he'll be on and maybe listen to the show or checking things out. So hopefully we'll see him around. I don't know. That's probably way too much for me. I feel like I've been talking for way too long. So
that's okay.
I'm really happy to say that's probably most of it for me.
Well, I think you finally dethroned In Rainbows this time around.
I had a very good month. Let's just say that. Probably not going to be that good for a little while, but I had a very good month.
I'm not sure how you pronounce, and a big surprise, me not knowing how to pronounce a member's name, but...
just give it your best shot there, Bill.
Halo meme. I don't know. But one of the co-founders acquired a House of the Dead 3 arcade machine, and it's not a cabinet that I'm familiar with.
No, me neither, but it looks amazing.
And I think, didn't he say that like there was a couple different versions of that cabinet that came out?
Yeah, does he have a PAL one?
Well, I don't think arcade systems are PAL or NTSC, are they? Are they just all
I really
NTSC?
couldn't tell you.
I don't know. I'm not an arcade nut.
No, I mean,
yeah, I'm not an expert. I mean, we've all seen the House of the Dead, machines in various arcades, and it just struck me as a unique looking cabinet or setup.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and very cool, right? I mean, those are fun light gun shooters, and it's like the two holsters, and the way the game is built. You're the right distance away from the thing, and that's just a lot of fun. Those. When you walk into an arcade, I can understand why they're the few arcade games that are still made, because they're just fun.
Yep.
Yeah, it's how they were designed that anybody can walk up to it and put like a half a buck or a buck in and just have a good time for a couple minutes or 5 or 10. So, and they still hold up. I mean, they're it's what's the one that just came out? There's a PS3 one that you used the sharpshooter with. I was at I think it was PAX East last year, and my wife and I played it for like 10. Like we played it, we turned around, there was no one there waiting, so we were about to like give up the guns, and I looked at my wife, and I was like, "You want to go again?" And she does like the Terminator reload your shotgun like with one hand, like chun. And I just looked at her and I said, "I love you," and then we kept shooting zombies.
You complete me.
Yeah.
My wife, she never really ever played video games, but as soon as she saw that House of the Dead 2 and 3 were on the Wii, she picked it up because that was like literally the only game she ever played in an arcade. I actually scrolled through the post really quick, and he did say there's 2 different versions, one for the European market and one for the American market.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Nine-tailed demon fox, right? He got a few
He won this month.
things.
It's the Nine-tailed demon fox podcast this time around.
Yeah, what cool items did he run across there?
He's got hours and hours of awesome games to play, like Hannah Montana and Little Mermaid 2 and Ballet Studio. Just
that Ballet
jealous.
Studio game.
I didn't see Barbie Horse Adventure, but I'm sure that it was in that lot.
Did you see the cover to that Ballet Studio game? It's like Stepford Wives. Like this lady and then this kid that was staring at you like, join us.
We all bundle.
Yeah, interesting pickups. I can understand this. Sometimes you just get these lots. I mean, things are cheaper. You just buy these things in bulk. But I mean, kind of fun. It's fun to see that sort of stuff. I'm waiting for a video. So please do a playthrough.
Yeah, I actually have to say that I once played Mary-Kate and Ashley's Sweet 16 License to Drive and had a really fun time with it.
Wow. Didn't see that one coming.
Did you learn something about being friends in the process?
Always. When don't Mary-Kate and Ashley teach you things?
They teach you a lot these days, just probably not the things you want your kids to know. So I think we talked about Banana a little bit earlier,
yeah, you
right?
mentioned his power glove that he got from you, and I think he posted my favorite picture I've seen on there in months and months and months of his little daughter, who's probably, 5 or 6, wearing this power glove. It's awesome.
Yeah. That was really pretty cool.
Yeah.
When I saw them, that makes it all worthwhile.
Yep.
And the Crisis Force Famicom cart, right?
Oh my gosh, Crisis Force is so awesome. You guys
Dude's
need to
always
play
talking
Crisis
about
Force.
it, yeah.
So yeah, I saw, he put that up there, and then I see a handful of comments right below it, and not being super familiar with Famicom, I'm not familiar with the game at all, so it was cool to see it was one that people were excited about.
Yeah. Okay, so if you guys haven't played Crisis Force, go get Crisis Force. Okay? That's worth owning a Famicom by itself. It's really awesome.
So it's exclusive to the Famicom?
Yes.
Okay.
Because it has, again, special sound chips and stuff that are in there. They don't, I believe, on that one, so it's not going to work in a US system properly. Very cool. Very, very worth. I love playing that game. It's great. It's a great shooter that's 2-player co-op.
So Zagnorch, he's the
I thought it was
second or
like
third member.
Zignatch now or something like that.
Oh, sorry,
Yeah.
Zagnut, like the candy bar in Beetlejuice?
No, Zignatch.
Oh, Zignatch. So Zignatch is the second or third member in the last few months to grab Pikmin 2 complete for GameCube for just a couple bucks.
Yeah, that thing, everyone seems to find it for $2.
Yeah.
I'm waiting on my turn.
I had mine long
Now,
ago.
do you need to have it on GameCube, or are you cool getting the new Wii version that just came out for $20?
I really like GameCube controller much better than the Wii stuff.
That is the one game. I haven't played the second one yet, but the first one, the Wii controls, that's my favorite game with the Wii controller, I think, almost. Maybe Silent Hill Shattered Memories might beat it, but that one I thought was awesome. I would love to get the second one with the Wii.
I would say it's probably tied for me with Metroid Prime. The Metroid Prime trilogy that got redone with Wii controls it's sublime to play. It's so good. And Pikmin 1 was the same thing. I have Pikmin 2 for the Wii. I haven't played it yet though.
Let me know if it's as good as the first one with those controls, because I loved it.
Yeah, and he also got some N64 carts, some looks like a couple of Mario 64s, Mario Kart, Mario Party, Star Fox, so a handful of we say it a lot, but there's a lot of games that you'll kind of see pop up a lot, but people want them, so those are easy to flip, easy to turn into something else that you want.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and Mario Parties is like single-handed reason that all N64 controllers are ground to nubs, right?
Yep.
Just the first one though, I think. I think they took the rotating games out of the second and third one.
Probably because of all the blisters that people
Oh yeah,
had.
we
Remember?
we had some serious injuries when playing that game.
What was
Yeah.
the wrestling game? I can't remember which one it was, but one of the wrestling games in the N64, like everyone's like super move, like no matter who you were, was that rotating the analog stick.
Oh god, I don't know.
And it
I've only played
destroyed
one of them,
control-
and what definitely wasn't that one.
Yeah, I can't remember if it was No Mercy or like I wasn't a huge wrestling fan, but I would go over to this kid's house who like they you want to play No Mercy or Raw or whatever it was, and I just remember looking into a room and seeing everybody with that like and just thinking, those are not gonna last very long.
No. After we had our like fourth or fifth injury, we started stealing our mom's rubber like dishwashing gloves. And we would play Mario Party wearing these dishwashing gloves on our right hands.
Awesome.
Oh boy. He also got a couple original DSs, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the big guy.
I like those ones.
I do too. I've still got mine from launch.
Yeah, I got my
and,
launch one too.
It's,
I've only ever held one once.
It's a
I
good
did-
machine.
Yeah, I mean, I remember sitting in line. Like, I think I was actually hanging out with a group of people who were sitting in line waiting for a Wii the night it came out, and someone had a DS, and I had never held one. And I remember thinking at the time that it felt a little bit heavy, but I had nothing to really compare it to. But I eventually got a DS Lite, which I loved for a long time. But yeah, I mean, people seem to still like the original DS.
Yeah, I got mine as a gift right after they came out and had it for years. It's durable too. I've dropped it like 100 times, and one of the hinges like broke clean off, but it still works perfectly.
That's a lot of times.
Yeah, I don't know why I keep dropping the damn thing.
It's pretty clumsy.
It's like every couple of days you're dropping it.
I wanted to say too, I've kind of noticed a running theme with Mr. Zignatch, and that he must be a really big Nerf guy.
Oh yeah, have you seen? He's posted some of his pictures
yeah.
before. He's got like a whole arsenal.
Yeah, like
Didn't he
always
have
these Nerf
Didn't he have a
guns.
blog post?
Yeah. I just imagine
I-
him to be one of those guys that has like the panic room, but it's like full of Nerf guns instead of actual guns.
Yeah, those are not going to help you in the zombie apocalypse. I'm sorry. I don't think it's going to help. Moving on, who else? One of our newer members, Quackula, picked up some stuff, right?
Yeah, I started up a little TurboGrafx collection, it looks like.
Yep, trying to show me up. I still got no TurboGraf.
Oh,
And
you gotta fix that.
Krabby, you're the resident turbo guy, right?
Well, I'm not that knowledgeable in it yet, but I really do like the system. And yeah, he's got a nice little starter lot. He even avoided Keith Courage somehow and grabbed, a couple bonks. He did end up with China Warrior, though, which is kind of a stinker. But at least it's got a very amusing character sprite.
I bet he does have a Keith Courage. If he opens up the system, unscrews it, there's probably one taped inside there. It's impossible to have one without Keith Courage.
Yeah.
I think that was probably they would just beg you to take one as you walked out of the store, please.
Yeah. Are you sure?
We've
No, I'm
we've
good.
got 50. Just take one.
It's free.
Yeah, so I mean that was pretty cool. I really need to bust out my turbo and spend some time with it. When I first got it, I played a few of the games, but I've not spent a lot of time. And there's some great shooters, so
Yeah.
I want to spend some more time
I
with
like it. Yeah, if you like arcade style stuff from that era, it's a fantastic machine.
All right. Hey, real quick. Do you guys know what time it is?
It is 12:08 my time.
9/11
No,
here.
no. It is 32x time.
Oh no!
Nice segue. You got us.
We have reached our first, and not the last, 32x lot of the night.
I blame you, Bill, for all of this.
Spreading,
I will
spreading the
take-
disease through our FGen.
I will
Yeah.
take all of the blame. I'll probably save mine for last, just because I'm very happy
'Cause mine's
about
the
it.
best,
and,
right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Not as happy as I could have been, but yeah, still very happy.
so just take it away, please, take it away.
Take it away. All right, so Retro, who, if you couldn't tell, is a fellow 32X guy. He ended up grabbing a bunch of complete in box 32X games, a couple of common ones like Star Wars and Doom, but he also grabbed Brutal, BC Racers, T-Mech. T-Mech's an excellent game. You guys ever played that in the arcade?
No, I missed out on that.
No idea what you're talking about.
Really? So yeah, forgetting that it's 32X and that you guys are kind of uninitiated, you never played T-Mech?
Nope.
No.
T-Mech's really good. It's like it's in 3 dimensions, and it's
3?
Yeah, like 3 whole dimensions. So it's like kind of like a tank shooter, and there's like a really cool multiplayer aspect to it. My brother owned a 32X he loved it in the arcade, and he bought a 32X and just had T-Mech. So that's a really cool one for him to grab. Also got an assorted Super Nintendo lot. Again, great, nothing super crazy rare, but a lot of great titles. Some NES items, some books. I guess if we're going to stick with Retro, we can go to...
Now, he's the one who got the stuff from his friend?
Yes. So he has a friend who I think he said is having a baby and is trying to unload some stuff. So lots of really good stuff kind of strewn out there. Has anyone identified... the gray box with Nintendo Power, purple and blue Nintendo Power sticker on it?
No, I'm curious to hear what he has to say about that, because I can't figure out what that is.
Yeah. I don't know either.
I mean, it's kind of hard because it's got all the books and the paper kind of leaning up against it, but he's got a couple of NES Advantages in there, a 4-score, a satellite, some third-party controllers. Oddly enough, the NES Max, which is one of my favorite NES controllers, probably just because I used the thing to death. I just always loved it. It's I don't know, maybe it was just the turbo button so I could win at track and field. It could have been, but I don't know. I always liked that thing. It's like one of the earliest kind of boomerang style controllers I remember using. There's a loose power glove in there that actually looks really nice and clean. I find that it's hard to find those without dirt caked on them.
Yeah. They look filthy quite a lot.
And a whole bunch of really cool looking How to Win at Nintendo books.
I love those old tips and tricks books. They're awesome.
Anytime I can find anything from that period that's how to beat this game or how to win, I'm totally into it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I've got a bunch of them. I love those old books. Jeff Rovin.
Oh yeah.
One of these days we got to track Jeff Rovin down.
Yeah, I've got 4 or 5 of his.
He was the most prolific writer of that stuff back in the day. So I'm sure he's probably moved on to really exciting things. If we called him up and was like, "Can we please interview on the How to Win at Nintendo books?" He would probably, "You got to be kidding me, right?"
Yeah, he's like, I don't talk about that anymore.
The dark page in my history. That was the starving artist phase, right?
Totally. So, but yeah, so Retro is, and he was actually one of the guys I contacted, kind of leading into my story later on. One of my local stores got a whole bunch of complete 32X games in, and since he had expressed some interest in collecting for the system recently, I reached out to him and I said, "Hey, is there any chance you'd be interested in this stuff? I'd totally grab some things for you and maybe see if I could send some stuff your way." And he said that he was kind of waiting for the purchase that he just made of those 8 complete games. So didn't end up getting anything for him, but he's definitely on his way with his complete 32X collection.
Aye.
Yeah, it's exciting. I know.
Let's go back to some quality titles. So
back to the NES
T-Mech. Okay, no, we can talk about T-Mech some more.
To what? No. Back to NES. So
Invader.
Got to hit the pawn shop, right?
Yeah, sound like it. Got a big stack of NES stuff.
Yeah. So what were some of the highlights? What are some of the goodies that they got in there?
Nothing crazy rare, but lots of pretty hard to track down games like King's Quest V, Galaxy 5000, The Untouchables, things that don't pop up that often.
Yeah, Untouchables is one of those ones that I don't feel like commands a very high price, but at the same time, you just don't see it very often.
Yeah.
I've still got to track down the other label variant.
Yeah, the TV and then the movie version, right?
Yeah, and I think I've got the movie version. I need to track down the TV one. So I'm going to be watching out for that one at some point in time. But not easy to find. It took me a long time to locate even that one. So that's really cool.
Yeah.
And a high-quality pickup I would say, good Nintendo items. I appreciate that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I would say so as well.
And our former star of the show in Rainbows, I don't think he quite took the top spot this month, but he still got some
it's
pretty
still
good
right
stuff,
up
right?
there, top 3.
He made it interesting.
So what did all they come up with? A lot.
What doesn't he
Well,
get?
well, Duke. Speaking of things that you like, I do see several Phantasy Star titles in there.
Oh yeah.
So we got Phantasy Star 2, Phantasy Star 3, Shining Force for the Genesis.
Great game.
Yeah, it really, really is. And it's trickier. It's one of the trickier ones to find without resorting to eBay or paying a lot for it. But yeah, lots of good Genesis stuff in there.
And lots of stuff that would be right up Bill's alley too, with those complete in box NES things.
Yeah, he's I've said it before. He's kind of after a collector after my own heart. But he's got the I think just one Mega Man game left, right? Because he's got I think he just needs Mega Man 1. So he's got 2 through 6
That's the one
complete,
everyone
I
needs
believe.
last, I think.
Oh, that's a tough one, man. That's expensive.
And it's weird because I know I've said it before, and I'm totally not bragging, but I got pretty lucky with my complete Mega Man 1. So I have 1, 2, and 3. So I know, what is it? 5 is the one that's tricky.
5's more
Yeah,
expensive.
1 and 5.
Yeah. So I got 4, 5, and 6 left. So 4 is not crazy. Maybe it really not that bad. 5 and 6 I'm probably gonna have to pay a little bit for. So we'll see.
What about that Zombie Nation box though? That had me drooling.
Yeah, that was the first. I think the first thing that he posted in this that landed in this month was those a couple NES boxes, including that Zombie Nation box. Now, as cool as it is to have a Zombie Nation box, I do not envy him the task of tracking down a Zombie Nation manual.
Yeah.
Just by itself. I mean, if he wants it complete. If you don't, that's totally cool too. It's up to you. But I mean, there's certain games that I don't mind getting into the manual hunt game for. Mm-hmm. But I mean, like the trickier it is to find that title. Usually, I'll just say, you know what, I'll just hold out for a whole thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Now I would just like to have a Zombie Nation cart. You guys can have the boxes and manuals. I just really still need the cart. So maybe without breaking the bank.
Yeah. And also in there, didn't he have a Mega Man X3?
Yeah, he had
complete
a
for the Super?
SNES lot. Yeah, that one was like smack right in the middle of his picture.
Yeah, mm-hmm. Holy cow, man. That thing is not a cheapie.
Nope.
No. No, I think there was a dude on Nintendo Age selling his entire Mega Man collection like a while ago. And I remember, he wanted to sell the whole thing as a lot, and someone offered like, I don't know, $800 or $900, and he was like, "Are you kidding me? That's like what 2 or 3 of these games are worth." So, but yeah, I had no idea the X3 went for that much, but it does.
Yep.
I've never seen an X3 cartridge myself. Have you?
I used to rent it all the time.
Oh,
all 3 of them.
Really
yeah.
held on to that.
I used to rent all 3 of the Mega Man X games like constantly. They were my go-to games. If there was nothing I saw that was new and interesting, I'd just grab one of those.
I bet you wish you had forgotten to take it back and had to just pay the replacement fee.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, that's a really good one. Now he also got that really interesting piece of Castlevania artwork, right?
Yeah.
And he said from Comic-Con.
Yeah. I like that.
Yeah.
That's a cool looking print.
I don't know where Comic-Con is held at. Do you know?
San Diego, I want to say. Isn't
yeah, it depends. I mean, typically when you mention Comic-Con, you either mention San Diego Comic-Con or New York Comic-Con. Since New York Comic-Con's not till October, I would assume it's San Diego. But he didn't say right in the post.
Is that? I don't know a lot about some of those I know gaming cons, but not that one. Now they always have Gen Con. That's in Indianapolis every year, but.
Yeah, I'll be there. I'll be there next year, so maybe we'll figure something out for that time frame.
Oh well, seriously, if you're going to come to Gen Con next year, I'm literally like a half an hour away or so.
All right, so Krabby, you were saying before that this is a member that I've seen a little bit around lately, but Seavers too.
Yeah,
is a dude who's actually been around from a while back, who was kind of absent for a little bit and now
disappeared
is
for
back up.
Seemed like more than a year, even like gone for a long time. I've done a few deals with him in the past, and he's an amazing member. Like every time I bought anything off him, he's just crammed the box full of freebies. If there was room in the box, he would fill it up with stuff that he knew I wanted, but for whatever reason we cut them out of our deal, he would just send them anyway.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, but so he's back and he's picking up some new awesome things again. So it's good to see him. I'm happy.
Yeah, I think that I read a post from him like a long time ago talking about him grabbing like complete Nintendo games for like $5 a piece. Some guy was selling like hundreds of them.
He ended up with like somewhere between like 50 or 60 of them, I think, like just unbelievable condition. Like they were bought, opened, and then stuck in a trunk for like 20 years. And then he ended up with like so many good titles. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I remember him saying that like he went there like expecting a few Nintendo games, and then when he found out the guy had that many and that good a shape for that price, he said, "Okay, I will be back in several hours with $800 or something like that."
I think he came back a second time and got more off of him too.
Mm-hmm.
I think at that point in time, I would just probably dip into my savings and go, "Look, I'm just going to buy them all. What kind of deal can you give?" Really?
Who needs to
those
retire?
things just don't come along. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
those things don't come along like that. You just...
Yeah, so besides the NES carts, and he grabbed a Wall Street Kid box. He grabbed on the Wild Bill and
game.
Duke. Oh yeah, no, it is. He also jumped on the Wild Bill and Duke Togo bandwagon and grabbed a 3DS on Craigslist for $100.
Oh yeah,
Probably
And,
hoping for some
I
street
think he's-
passes there.
Yeah, right. I think he said he flipped the games for like $80, so
Yeah.
pretty much $20 for his 3DS.
that's awesome.
Really good PlayStation RPGs, and not terribly common ones with Star Ocean, both Wild Arms games, Suikoden, and the guides for I think all of them.
Yeah, every single one of them. Yeah.
Very cool.
And did you see the condition of that ColecoVision and the roller controller that he grabbed for it?
They look new.
Yeah, amazing. And
Yeah.
he was
What
saying
did he
like
say?
that was a really significant system for him that he's been looking for a long time. So he just was amazed at the condition and just happy as hell to buy it. And it was like Duke said earlier, like he didn't care about the price. It's more than he wanted to pay, but he's like, I need this, so he just snapped it up.
Yep.
Yeah, Coleco is pretty popular where I'm at, so they show up. I mean, semi-regularly, but I mean, do you guys have Colecos?
I never see them, but I'm also never kind of on the lookout for them. But it's one of those things that like if I came across at a decent price, I'd probably give it a go. But I never played one.
Anything pre-NES up here is very obscure.
So neither of you have a Coleco?
No.
Yeah, I've got one. Yeah,
I do not own one.
picked up the only one I've ever seen up here.
Cool.
Yeah.
The games are not, for the most part, not terribly expensive to collect for.
No, it's not.
If you just want loose
The
cards.
games are, cool. I've got quite a few now.
And forever was home to like the probably only and best port of Time Pilot. But yeah, that's very cool. I like Coleco. I hate the ColecoVision controllers.
Yeah, I was going to mention that.
They just hurt your hands.
Yeah, I don't understand how someone thought that was a good idea.
Well, when you kind of compare it to the other things at the time, I guess it wasn't as horrible. But like when you look at like the Intellivision controller or whatnot,
That's also bad, yeah.
and the Atari 5200 controller, I mean,
The 2600 wasn't bad, though. Why couldn't they just, rip that off?
I don't know, like keypads were the deal back then.
Yeah.
Like everything had to have a keypad.
Just toss a couple extra buttons on your 2600 controller and you're fine.
And then all of a sudden nothing needed a keypad, and then the Jaguar came and was like, no,
yeah.
keypad.
That's cool.
No, because people in Japan went, oh, what? No, keypads are stupid. You want to play games. Here's a game machine.
Yeah.
So you also have Kid A again. Did we mention before? 'Cause we mentioned him before, but he got a box full of cases and manuals. For I think he said it was like a buddy of his or something like that. But it's like a whole bunch of like cases and manuals for PSP, DS, Game Boy Advance, like Xbox and GameCube games.
I love finding stuff like that. It's just awesome.
So that's cool because like a lot of times you can buy loose stuff, even if you do go to eBay, you can buy loose games to complete those pretty easily.
That's the exciting part. Like I've got a huge box of N64 boxes that I love just, finding that loose cart down the road and plopping them in these holes every once in a while.
Nice. You grabbed I think there's some complete games in there as well. One weird one that always sticks out to me is Street Fighter EX3. I remember it from like right around the time of the PS2 launch window, and like it's that kind of mock 3D like 3D rendered but 2D Street Fighter game.
Yeah.
It's not a good game, but it's something that like for some reason like if I saw like for a couple bucks, I'd grab it. Just for like the weirdness of it. Same with like Street Fighter the movie. I would just grab it.
Oh yeah.
Oh, we got that for Saturn. That's great.
Yeah.
It actually gets dogged on, but it's not a bad Street Fighter game. The EX series is always this is kind of strange. I can completely see why they killed it off, but they were doing so many cool things with like 3D fighters when they were experimenting at the time. Like you had like JoJo's
Bizarre Adventure.
and then you had I love Rival Schools.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Rival Schools is great, and that one shot up in price too.
Yeah, Rival Schools is a lot of fun to play. I don't know why they could get it right with those, but like Street Fighter, they just couldn't seem to get it right with that 3D build. He looks like he got a lot of other stuff though, right?
Birthday gifts too, yeah. His buddy really hooked him up with some good Genesis games there.
Yeah, Mutant League Football, some Splatterhouse too. Yeah. I remember playing Mutant League back in the day when I was a kid. And didn't they like announce that there was going to be a hockey one or something, but it never came out?
There was a hockey
came
one,
out.
Yeah, I've got a copy.
Oh.
Yep, I own it. It's great too. It's the goal. If I can like geek out about hockey for a minute, the goal, like there's no goalie. There's just like a half of a demon head with like his mouth above the surface of the ice. So when you shoot a puck at it, he just closes his mouth so you can't shoot the puck. And as you're skating, randomly like some like piranha can like cut a hole in the ice and you can just drop in this like sinkhole. It's great. It's like it's exactly what you'd expect. For like a Mutant League hockey game to be like. It's great.
So was there another one that was announced that never came out, or am I just thinking of something else?
Mutant League football and hockey definitely came out. I don't think any other sport ever did, so if they did advertise a different one, I haven't seen it.
I think I'm kind of getting it mixed up because in my head with the Crash and the Boys, there was supposed to be the ice hockey one for that, and they never brought that out.
Right.
Gotcha, yeah. So I think you guys know what time it is.
Yeah, it's 12:30 my time, Bill. That's
all right.
Is that what time it is?
Here we go. Another 32X lot. So we got Razor Knuckles, who's obviously a Sega guy with his Knuckles reference, and the cool thing about his him getting a 32X, he says he's had a copy of Chaotix for a little while, and now he can finally play it. And it's an interesting little side story because I bought my Knuckles from Banana, and it was weird because it showed up. I threw it in my 32X, I turned it on, and like it wouldn't boot up. And I tried a few other games, everything worked. I put it back in, the Knuckles back in, booted up, wouldn't work, and I'd already cleaned it and everything. And it was just really weird to me. I shot him a PM and I said, "Hey, did it work when you had it?" And he's like, "Yeah, it totally was working. Just let me know what the problem is. We'll take care of it." And I did a little bit more research, and I found out that a lot of people have a problem with Knuckles freezing when you play it on a Genesis 2. But if you put your 32X on a Genesis 1, which is not always easy if you have it on a Genesis 2 because you need that like separate adapter cable to fit to the different AV connection on the Genesis 1. But I happen to have it, so I switched my 32X to my Genesis 1, and it worked fantastic for 30, 40 minutes or whatever.
Who just happens to have one of those? That's just weird.
Yeah. Well, it's in my spare 32X
it out of my box
cable
of
drawer.
32X cables.
It was right on the top of my desk. I knew exactly where it was. I have this desk that has like a tier, like a tier like 5 feet up, just for random stuff I can throw on. And believe it or not, it was right underneath my Sonic the Hedgehog hat that's on its way to go to Shadow as soon as I pack up my next box for him. It was like a giveaway at the Sonic whatever the Sonic anniversary event was at E3 last year. And but yeah, so very very cool having another 32X dude. But he also got some 32X carts a little bit later on, including the getting harder to find Pitfall.
Oh yeah.
Pitfall is a cart that I don't think it's been really expensive for a long time, but all of a sudden, people are spending $60, $80, $100 on the cart, and the complete version is going between $150 and $300 out of nowhere.
Your plague is spreading, Bill.
I'm telling, dude, I bought my because Shadow is also a 32X guy, and I remember when I was kind of getting into it, and I was asking him for advice here and there, and I saw a guy in Stake Age selling a complete Pitfall with the poster, which is the piece that it never has, for like $40. And I sent a link to Shadow, and I said, shouldn't I jump on this? Like, am I missing something? Is it like not rare or something? And Shadow could have been really mean and
just bought it.
Just purchased it.
I'd be like,
for
oh
himself.
no, gosh, you missed
They're
out.
like,
Sorry.
oh no, that deal is so bad. Don't even do that. And then, but no, that's not the kind of guy he is, so he didn't. So I ended up getting it for like $40. But yeah, Pitfall just by itself has gotten quite a bit more attention as like a harder to find 32X game. And he also grabbed a copy of the incomparable T-Mech.
Man, what a lucky guy.
Yeah, and then for like 10 or 15 posts after that, your mom jokes abound.
Delightful.
We don't have to quote all of them, but you can go ahead and read them. And then we had some "oh no you didn't" pictures, and it was pretty entertaining. So I like that. And then
highbrow humor over at RFN, folks. Your mom jokes.
All right, and then real quick, we'll get to the Grooves pickup before we get to my super great 32X story.
Yeah, please
so
give us breaks in between all the 32X onslaughts.
we
recover.
We need time to recover.
So the Gru, who we've mentioned it before, but in case you don't know or are new to the site, the Gru is our Android programmer for the Android RF Generation Android app,
which I have downloaded and
used.
used since we talked about last time, and it is awesome. I love it.
Isn't it great?
Yeah.
Yeah, he does good work. I don't know if the Gru has a PayPal donate button, but he should.
He should, yeah.
I posted over there a suggestion for an iOS version Kickstarter.
Sure. It doesn't have to be a big Kickstarter. It can be the littlest Kickstarter.
I think it's only like $100 to get a license for the software.
Right, yeah. So I mean, we could do that. We'll get that done by the next episode.
Right. Okay. You kicked right in on that.
So the Gru grabbed a whole bunch of looks like Game Boy GBA games, and the Game Boy Advance SP, I think, is the flipping model.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And then it looks like I didn't really read into the details, but it looks like boxes of stuff.
Oh man, yeah, he got like a whole bunch of PlayStations, a whole bunch of Nintendos, a whole bunch of old PC stuff, like just boxes upon boxes of just random hardware and accessories and cords and.
It's not quite an Amiga score, but
almost.
Almost.
But yeah, it looks like, I think he said he was like organizing and like selling some of the stuff that is he's already got or isn't interested in, but it just looked like kind of like the Christmas tree lights in a box, just like all thrown in there. So those are always fun lots to to organize, to clean a little bit, and work your way. At least I think they're fun. Some people don't think they're fun.
I'm always so happy when I can come across big lots of like things like controllers and cords and whatnot, because I'm always getting systems that have they're just bare.
Yeah.
Yep.
And to be able to refurb them and sell them, I've got to scrape up cords somewhere.
That's a good point. I used to like if I had like loose like power cables or like RFs or like controllers or whatever. Sometimes I would sell them, and then I kind of realized very quickly, no, hang on to that stuff, because you're going to end up with like an NES toaster that is literally just a toaster without all that stuff.
Yeah, it makes them harder to sell or trade if you're looking to do that. So I'm always happy when people are like, I've got 5 of these power adapters sitting around or whatever. I'm like, okay. Shoot them. I'll take them.
Are you guys ready?
What about Wimster? I mean, come on, let's not.
Oh, so I didn't see. I forgot
Just the
Mario All Star.
Yeah, cut down.
Sorry.
We'll talk about 32X some more. It's just calm
down.
down.
You're right. Why don't we save the best for last? So we'll leave that down there. So yeah, Wimster. What's the best price you can pay for something?
I think free is always the best price.
And how cool is it? Mario All-Stars. What do you pay for that?
Free.
What do you pay for Final Fight 2?
What? Free?
And how much did he get Super Punch-Out for?
No, free.
Free. But the problem is he does actually owe the podcast $3 for not posting pictures of those 3 items. So that's the rule. When you don't post pictures, you owe $1 for each thing you listed.
So just remember, go over to the Potomatic page, RF Generation Collectorcast.potomatic.com, and you will find our PayPal donate button. We'll be waiting.
Yep. No minimum. $3.
And I know none of us recognized it at first, but Noise Redux posted that T-shirt and quickly let us know why it was awesome.
Yeah, I saw the shirt and I'm like, oh, it's something. So I kind of had to post like, well, what is it? But yeah, it's the jet grind, right?
Yeah,
Jet Grind Radio or Jet Set Radio, depending on your region.
the same shirt the lead character is wearing.
Yeah, didn't he say what the symbol meant?
I think Shadow said, but I don't remember. Yeah.
I mean, it's Japanese, right? But I don't remember exactly what, like
Something about
fun
beats or
or
something.
Yeah, maybe that's it. I don't know.
But it is a cool shirt. I really like it, and I'm not even a big fan of the game.
Yeah, not a big fan either, but it's okay. Didn't it just come out, actually, I think on the new consoles, right?
I was just
Downloadable.
going to say, yeah, it just came out on I'm not sure about PSN, but it definitely came out in the Xbox Live Marketplace.
So if you want to go back and relive some of that stuff, go for it.
It's cool. It's a fun little game.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. I think the coolest thing at the time that when it came out was on the Dreamcast, you had the modem, so you could connect to the internet, and what it would let you do is you could download like any JPEG or whatnot and use it as a custom tag in the game. So you could tag things with whatever JPEG image you wanted to that you would save on your VMU. So
Wait, whatever image?
whatever image you wanted. So,
how long did that take for someone to abuse?
No, how long did it take for me to abuse? I went out immediately and went,
Yeah, that reminds me of obviously you have a 3DS. We've talked about this. How long did it take you to take an inappropriate picture with the 3D camera?
Okay, I've not done that yet, but that sounds interesting.
Yeah, no, they're coming right at you.
Just make sure you do not lose the console, right?
Yep.
Or you will be in lots of trouble. That's funny. No, I've not thought of that. I guess I'm getting old. My mind is slipping.
Yeah, I didn't think of that either. I'm gonna have to experiment now.
Like,
And
oh,
then,
honey,
so
dear, can you
Krabby-
come here for a minute?
So did you mention your CDI lots?
No,
I know we were talking about it off the air.
Yeah, actually came from Duke Chogo. He's been holding on to it for me for a very, very long time. Since
Safekeeping.
A
February or
ransom for you to
something?
send him a Dragon Fighter?
So he's been holding on to this CDI lot for me, and it's got like everything I need to get started. It's got the CDI, what is it, the 200 series?
Yeah, Magnavox.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And 18 games. Well, not all of them are games, but most of them are games. To go with it. Yeah, I've got like the Compton's Encyclopedia stuff that always comes with it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
of
but he
course,
actually sent
right.
me quite a few titles that I'm eager to try, such as Backgammon.
Yeah, I know that's right on the top of your list is Backgammon, right?
Yeah, but no, I played like 7th Guest when I was a kid, and I'm looking forward to revisiting it. It's got both the Dragon Slayers and Space Ace. Yeah, there's a few.
Strip Poker Live.
Strip Poker
Yeah.
Live. I've been telling Duke that I'm really eager to try that one out. I'm really eager to send lots of my game capture pictures into the RFGen database from that one.
All I've got to say is if you ever get to skin on that game, let me know, because you're not going to get there. Let me just tell you, you're not going to get there.
Now, what kind of game is Voyeur? Have you played? I haven't heard of that.
Oh, dude,
I did a blog
he
post
did a
about
blog
that,
post on
yeah.
it. So that one I'm looking
Many
forward
I'm
moons
to.
ago.
sorry, I missed that.
Long time ago.
Oh, okay. It didn't get lost, did it?
It's
No, I
like
think it's probably
like a
still in
murder
there.
mystery kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like a deja vu?
No. It's basically you're a voyeur. You're spying on
Peep and Tom.
windows. Yeah, kind of. But you're supposed to be a detective. But by spying on different windows in this mansion, you're supposed to solve a crime and figure out who done it.
Ooh, that's kind of cool. Kind of like a Rear Window type thing.
Yeah, and it's of course there's some really pretty racy. There's no nudity or anything, but it's you got some interesting situations.
There's
going on.
lipstick right on the cover.
Yeah, there's some interesting for early '90s. It's fairly racy stuff that's
Right.
in there. I'll let Krabby find all the mysterious secrets.
No spoilers, guys.
You probably don't want to waste time trying to find out who done it. Just watch all the different interesting clips.
Fair enough.
But yeah, that lot's got that you got the nice controller
Oh, yeah.
there too.
Yeah.
and the video card, the digital video card that's in it. So those are that and the controller. Those are the harder things to get a hold of.
I appreciate that because I don't have to try and figure out how to play with the TV remote now.
Oh yeah, those things are atrocious.
Yeah.
But yeah, that control pad is it's just like basically just like a Genesis pad.
Yeah, that's the first thing that jumped out at me when I saw it. Yeah. And then my other exciting lot, Banana, who's been slowly, like about the same time, like way back in like January or February, he's been picking up NES games for me locally at his stores when he finds them for, you know, $1 here, $2 there. The occasional harder to find title, he'll email me like, I can find this, but I have to pay a little more. Are you okay with that? And so he's ended up with a big boxes of like, I got 37 NES cards from him that all of which I needed for my license set. And on top of that, he surprised me by loading it up with a whole bunch of extras too. He sent me like 8 Atari 2600 games, one of which was very significant to me. I made a blog post a while back about important games to me and which ones shaped my like gaming habits now. And I made a mention that the first game I ever remember playing or seeing played was Frostbite for the 2600. And so he made sure I got a copy of Frostbite in this box and sent it to me, which I haven't had since I was a kid, so it's very special. And along with Duke, he's been bugging me for many months about getting into Famicom stuff. So he sent me a converter and Flappy for the Famicom so that I have no excuse to not play some Famicom stuff now. And to,
we got you.
Yeah, and to even ice the cake more, he's got kids, I've got kids around the same age, so we talked about our kids for a bit. He knew mine's kind of getting into superheroes now, so he sent him a few superhero toys to play with. And it just happened to arrive on a day when my son had a really bad fever all day, hadn't eaten anything, hadn't done anything, had just laid on the couch for like 10 hours. And then this box showed up, and he got these toys, and he finally lit up and was, you know, happy for the first time that day. It was really awesome.
That is really cool.
Yeah, I can't thank you enough, Banana. That was just an amazing box to go through. I loved it.
I mean, that's and you even did a really nice write-up about that, and I think you were kind of saying the same thing that I always say, that it's just the community over at RFGen is really just top-notch.
Yeah, like I said, this guy, like I didn't pay him for the carts. He was picking them up out of his own cash for like 10 months until I finally gave him some money for them. Like, just unbelievable. And then on top of that, he sends me all these freebies and extras and actual thoughtful things. It's just unreal.
Yeah, really quality people. It does kind of, you know, it's kind of weird with a hobby like this, but it almost kind of tugs at the heartbstrings a little bit.
Absolutely,
right?
Yeah.
So that's really cool.
Plus, I'm really excited to play Conan, which he found for me. That's going in the system tonight.
Oh, so check out Krabby's YouTube channel. I think we've mentioned it before, but Krabby does playthroughs of NES games all the way through, and you can watch his start to finish.
And they're not
playthroughs,
generally very pretty.
No, that's okay.
I made the comment to you that I like that. I went to watch your Castlevania playthrough, and I got to a certain point, and you were like dying, and like a lot of videos you see on YouTube are like speed runs or perfect or whatever. And I like how it's just you playing the game. Like you can see you learning the game and changing your strategy as you go, and I think that's cool.
Yeah, you get to see a lot of learning in some of those games.
So, how do people find your channel on YouTube, Krabby?
What is it? 2000 Crabmaster you can search for.
Yeah, and he's got a lot of completed NES games if you guys want to check these out. I mean, even really brutal ones like these baseball games that you play through.
What was it, like 60 hours of bases loaded? And it's the same thing over and over every 20 minutes.
Yeah. And even like Jeopardy was a long one.
It was less than an hour, wasn't it?
Didn't you say that it was tricky because like not all the questions are current events?
Oh yeah, it's like late 80s, early 90s trivia. So I was 6 when a lot of these things were like on the news. So yeah.
So was Wikipedia your friend on that one?
No, it is trial and error. I just eventually the same questions come up again or the same category, so you just remember them.
But yeah, you guys should check that out. Check out Krabby's channel. He's got some pretty cool stuff over there. I want to take a second to interject, and I hope this is okay, but I want to take a moment to maybe talk about the pitfalls of shipping via UPS to Canada.
Yes. Should mention that.
So for everybody, this CDI lot that I was sending to Krabby, and I still feel bad about it, but I really didn't know. When I took it, so I could go, okay, let's find out who's got the cheapest shipping so I can send this big, I mean, it's very like 24 pounds. So I got the pricing from, the postal service and then the pricing from UPS. I'm like, oh, the UPS is like $20 cheaper or something. So I was like, okay, we'll go with that. But Krabby, you want to tell me what the other end on Canada is like for UPS?
Yeah, I got a delightful COD charge. Thankfully, the charge, I missed the actual first delivery. They try 3 times. So the first one, I got the note on the door saying that we tried to drop it off, and you're going to owe us $92 when we bring it into you. And I'm like, what? Because I get hit with customs fees, often enough that I'm not surprised. But this was way beyond any customs fee I've ever paid, like 3 times the amount.
Yeah, and I felt bad because you messaged me right away. You're like, do you have any idea why this is? I'm like, holy crap, no, I have no idea why this is.
No, so I called them right away to find out what was going on, and apparently UPS likes to charge a brokerage fee for simply just having to deal with customs at all, going internationally, whereas no one else that I've ever had shipped with has done that. I was able to talk it down a little bit, but I still had to pay a hefty chunk to cover their brokerage fee, or they would have sent it back. And it was kind of hidden. Like, they didn't tell Duke or me about it. So we weren't happy, and I wouldn't recommend using UPS to ship from US to Canada.
No, I mean, and that's it. When I went to the UPS store, they didn't mention anything about any of this. I knew that I have to put like the declared value, and you'd have to pay whatever your taxes when you get there. But they didn't mention anything about any of the fees.
No, the lady I talked to sounded like every package that goes through, they pay brokerage fee.
Yeah. So lesson learned, folks. If you're ever going to ship from the UPS to international customers, stick with the Postal Service.
Yeah.
Don't go with these people. I mean,
they did get it here quick, but if you don't need something here fast, it's not worth the extra price.
Yeah, and I understand some people might be a stickler about it because, yes, you can get like signature confirmation and tracking, but I don't know. I mean, there's no way I'm going to do that to somebody again. I just won't do it. So my apologies, Krabby. Lesson learned. I will never do that again.
We're all good. As soon as I see some skin in strip poker, I'll forget all about it.
Take some screenshots because you'll probably only see something once, and that'll be it. So coming back to wrap things up, quote unquote the best for last.
Yep.
So you've been hinting around, like at the last show, that you might have some big deal going on, but you didn't want to kind of spill the beans on anything, right?
Yeah, I mean, for the people who kind of follow small scores, they've seen it posted. So let me give you the whole story, and it's not exactly the deal I wanted to make, but it's close. And I'll try to keep it kind of short because we still have to get to our main topic. So basically, I was at work. I had to go. I work in a medical practice, and I had to go order some office furniture. So I decided I was going to go to the place and sit in these chairs because I can't mail order chairs. I have to experience the seat for myself. So I went over there. I sat in a whole bunch of chairs, and whatever, not important. And then when I left, I figured, okay, well, there's not enough time for me to go back to work, and it's not enough time to go home. But the retro game store is kind of in this area. Okay, so I punched out
Funny how
a
that
little bit
happens,
early. Yeah. And I there's no way I was planning this all day long. So I theoretically punched out and headed over there. So I walk in the store, and the owner knows me pretty well, and says, "Hey, Bill, what's going on?" I say, "Hey, Chris, what's happening?" And he says, "Come back here. I got to show you something." So he brings me into the back room of the store, and he has this little kind of like side storeroom. It's pretty small, and he opens it up, and there's about 12 or 13 banker boxes. So I can't tell what's inside yet, but there's also like a handful of system boxes, like a Sega CD2. I think there was a 5200 and a 2600, so a handful of system boxes. And he said all these banker boxes are Sega stuff. And he said, "You're into 32X, right?" And I said, "Yeah, it's one of my little weird little things that I like." And he said, "Open that box up." So I opened the box up, expecting to see some 32X games. And I looked at it, and as I opened it up, he said, It's every single 32X game is in there,
Oh,
and I open the box, and it's just yellow, like all the box. And I've never, and that's the thing. It's like, you know how when you like you're pulling up to Goodwill. I think I said this in the thread. And like you're daydreaming about like, I'm gonna walk in here and I'm gonna find, you know, the like that one super crazy awesome thing. And I always for some reason imagine like finding a Rob, like a big box Rob. It's silly, but I do it. I always same thing. Like I always wonder like, what would it be like to like walk into a place and have like a whole collection of, you know, something you're looking for. So I really couldn't believe it. So I opened the box. So the first thing I do when I open this box up is I sift through really quick, and I find there's 3 games that I need for a complete 32X set. There's a Slam City featuring with Scottie Pippen, which is not very rare, and then there's the two of the bigger ones. There's Spider-Man, which is not terribly rare. It's almost always on sale. It's just really expensive. And then World Series Baseball featuring Deion Sanders, which has actually been on sale more lately. I think it has a lot to do with the fact that people are starting to see that it is a desirable title, and the people who have it in their collections are like, yeah, I'd rather take the $400 for it.
I would.
Yeah. So we had all 3 were in there, and I said, and he saw the look on my face, and he said they're not mine yet. And I said, oh. Like, what has to happen? Like, what's going on? And then he said, yeah, the guy left the whole collection here. I'm supposed to appraise it, tell him how much I'll give him for it, and then he'll make a decision. So I said, okay, these are the 3 games that I need. If you buy this collection, I will buy these games from you. I didn't mention price, neither did he. I said, if you buy this collection, I will buy these from you.
Right.
So he said, okay, no problem. So we put them aside. And on my way home, I was thinking about him, you know, how you do that. So I got home, and I sent him a text or an email, and I said, come on, Chris, like, you got this. You can do it. You can make this deal. And he hit me back like, yeah, I hope so, dude. And I was like, come on, you're a machine. You got this. So I'm like pumping him up.
You're doing like the Rocky pep talk thing.
Exactly, yeah. So I sent him a picture of Mickey, so just to kind of push it along. So a few more days go by. I kind of, you know, I sent something over to him like, hey, like any progress on that? And he's like, oh yeah, the guy's supposed to be coming in today. So I said, okay. So I'm like, same thing. I'm at work. I'm thinking about it all day. Like, oh, is he gonna get it? I hope he doesn't want too much money for these, because I start looking at like, you know, completed auctions, and the 2 big ones are really through the roof lately, like super high. So I'm worried about that and all this other stuff. So I get on the way home from him, I get an email, and I look at it, and he just emailed me and he said, yeah, it sucks, dude. The guy traded in everything except the 32X games. Oh. And I was like, oh, you. I was literally, I was too upset to even respond to him. I was like, it was like at a stoplight, and my wife looks at me and she's like, what's wrong? And I was like, nothing. I don't want to talk about it. So we kept driving home. So we got home, and I still hadn't said anything back to him. So I got home and I sent something back. I was like, oh, that really sucks, dude. I said, like, do you have his number? Like, maybe I can buy like directly from him, like as long as it's not getting between you guys.
Were you just crying and saying like, I had them in my hands?
Yeah, I was holding the last games. I put my hands on them. And then he emails me back and he's like, nah, I'm just kidding. I got him. And he's never pulled anything like that before. So I said, I literally almost hired a hitman just now.
So the money you that's a little on Spider-Man to have him dead.
Exactly. You can have someone whacked for about $1.50, right? Is that the going rate? So anyway, so then he got them. So then it comes to negotiations. So I said, okay, dude. I said, what do you want for these? And he sends me a list, and he says, World Series Baseball, he wanted $150 for. There've been a handful of completed auctions in like the 180 to 225 range, so I didn't think that was that unreasonable. I actually had a whole bunch of I've sold a whole bunch of stuff to him, so it ended up being covered in credit anyway. So it was kind of like, you know,
great.
Even though it's not free money, I kind of see it as like, oh, free money.
Sure, it's play money.
I said okay, that's reasonable. Like, that's not a problem. But he wanted $350 for Spider-Man, and I said to him, like, I looked up some recent auctions, and I mean, earlier this year, between 120 and 200, you know, they were going for. Very recently, it sold for between $350 and $450 several times. And I sent something back to him and I said, listen, man, I'm really sorry. I know I told you I would buy these games if you bought them. But I just feel like Spider-Man is on a huge bubble right now and it's going to come down. So I'll take a World Series. I'll take a Slam City. And I'm sure you'll have no problem moving Spider-Man, but I just can't see my way clear to, because at that point I had exhausted most of my credit. It would have been cash.
Oh yeah.
So unfortunately, I was able to grab the very hard to find complete and really good condition World Series baseball for 32X. So and Slam City. That the rare piece in that one is there's like a rub-on tattoo, and it does have it in there. And I also bought a box replacement for my NFL quarterback club because I had a faded spine. So now it's nice and bright. It was like the one faded spine in my whole collection. So for $5, I'll do a spine upgrade. And I have the one left now, Spider-Man Web of Fire, which leads me to. And I didn't get Spider-Man, so I'm not teasing that, but it leads me to my visit with Shadow. I was in Florida earlier this month, and he's been teasing me for a while. He knows I'm into the black box complete Nintendo games, and he's been saying for a while, oh, I think I've got some. Yeah, I think I've got like a handful that you need. And I'm like, oh, cool, which ones are they? And he's like, I don't know, like all my games are like in a box in the closet somewhere. And
10 copies of Duck Hunt, right?
Yeah, and I'll hit him back, and I'm like, oh, that's cool. But in my head, I'm thinking, go in your closet. What are you doing?
Oh, wait. No. What, at Shadow's house, though, I don't think you probably understand what his closet would be like.
Yeah, I remember that video he posted a while ago of just walking through walls of
where like
walls of
knocked
boxes.
off a UPS truck and stole the
Krabby's been to his house, so just ask.
I've been to his house literally like the day after he moved in too. So yeah, it was like boxes everywhere.
Yeah, so every time I'll post something like, hey, just reminder anyone complete games, and he's like, oh yeah, I know I've got a few. I know my local stores have a few. Like, I'll get to you as soon as I can. And he's been moving and stuff, which I know what that's like. So it's no big deal. So anyway, so that's on the side. I'm a big hockey fan, as some of you guys know. So I had mentioned to him.
And the Canadian booze.
You're Canadian. What are you doing?
The only one.
So NHL 13, the most recent, is just coming out, and I had asked him. I was like, "Hey, so do you actually, does your team? Because he works in NCAA football. I said, does your team talk to the NHL team at all? I've been a big fan of that series, blah blah blah. So anyway, so we're just chatting. So I meet up with him and his wife and my wife. We had dinner, and he has like a Christmas bag for me, and I see him. Like, I text him, and I'm like, where are you? He's like, I'm the guy over in front of this with the huge bag. So that's how I found him, was this big bag. So I opened it up. He gave me the Black Box baseball, NES, Black Box Wrecking Crew, cool. Which I was definitely not expecting something that cool. And he actually picked up NHL 13 for me on 360, the special edition, the Stanley Cup edition, so I don't have to look at Claude Giroux's ugly face on the cover of the regular edition game.
And that's like the steel box, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like, and it's got like when you take the cover off, it's got like the last like 20 years worth of Stanley Cup winners like imprinted on the back. It's really cool. And he got me a shirt at the company store, at the EA company store. It's like a classic like 16-bit hockey player. I haven't taken a picture of it yet. I'm going to as soon as I see it and I think to do it. But yeah, Shadow. We've mentioned him before on the site. He's one of the directors of the site. Super cool, awesome dude. Very very generous in his deals, as most of the members on the site are. And like I said in the post, he really did roll. Housewarming, my birthday, and Christmas all into one, and he's got a box coming his way too. So, big thanks to Shadow. And then just on the side, the very last thing I grabbed, a couple of Super Nintendo boxes, Super Mario RPG box to complete that, Street Fighter 2 box, and I felt bad posting this because we have a newer member looking for a night. He's like, "Hey, anyone found Nightshade?" And then I go on like, Small Scores, and I'm like,
"Yeah,
yep, Nightshade just picked it up." And I do apologize. If it was a cart, I would definitely throw it over to you. But
we'll run across another one.
Oh, I'm sure we will. Yeah, we got the team out looking for it. So
sure.
Yeah, picked up a Nightshade complete in very nice crispy shape, and I got my Famicom. My trade from Duke came in, so I'm in the Famicom club. I got my first 3 carts that Shadow. From the Japanese writing, identified all 3. So he's I just on the thread. You can see the Gradius writing in English, but the others are just you just see the Japanese and Shadow's like, oh, Gradius, King Kong, and Goonies. I was like, whoa,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, you're welcome. I
yeah.
picked those out for it. Those are great little starter cards.
You sure did. And I made the comment. I said, "Oh wow, like I didn't realize a happy coincidence. They're all Konami games."
Man,
And then
Konami is the best on Famicom.
yeah, and that's what you said. You're like, "Oh, that's no coincidence. They are the best."
That's right. That's right. And I know you're a big Konami guy anyway on the You like the silver boxes, so.
I am. Yeah. Besides that, the silver box designs are really cool. A lot of those silver box games are what I grew up playing, so it's kind of what made me want to grab that as a subset.
Oh, and hey, Crisis Force is a Konami game.
Oh, I didn't know that.
There you go. So really what we're trying to say is you had this big, long, story that you've given us, and really the very most important thing that you saved for last, the very most important thing was the Famicom.
Yeah. is that Crisis Force is now an opportunity for me?
No, you got a Famicom, so you finally come over to the right side of things.
Hey, it's whatever you love is the right side.
So, that way you can, now that you've only got one more 32X cart, you can just set that to the side and you can start playing some real games now, right?
I'll play them all, a little bit of everything.
But that's great. I'm glad to hear that you've joined the club. I know Krabby's got a converter now. You can all play the games. So shame on you if you don't go get some more. That's all I can say. I will be happy to give you recommendations, both of you. Get on board. That's all I can say. There is some really great stuff. And again, like the local shop here's got stuff. I know I've got another big box of carts. Probably, I'm guessing like, probably in the neighborhood of like 80, 85 more carts coming here soon that I bought in a big lot. So I might have some dupes coming along the pipe. So
Dupes.
I'll talk to you guys both about that and when that comes. I don't know exactly what I'm getting. It's one of those just buy a big lot, see what you get. But the price was fine, and that'll be cool. Hopefully by next episode I can talk about that.
Cool.
Sounds good.
So wonderful. Again, folks, we say this every time, but if you are not on the RF Generation website, you really should join. Please share the things that you pick up when you're out doing your collecting, things you get, and we love to see the pictures. And you never know, maybe next time we'll talk a little bit about yours. So for our main topic, we really wanted to take a moment and talk, first off, about pricing and trading. So, as a person that does collecting, inevitably you're going to end up with at least duplicates when you're out there. So you're going to have to at some point work on trading or pricing that stuff out to some other people. We kind of wanted to explore that a little bit. So pricing, trading, where do you guys go for your pricing information? How do you value your stuff?
It depends on the platform, and there's always tricks. Of course, like a lot of people turn to eBay, and it's always very important to look at what things are actually selling at, and not just people asking for. So one of the tool I use most often is price charting, pricecharting.com that is. But you have to be really careful because when you look up a title on price charting, it'll give you kind of a generic number, which is kind of the average of what the game sells for. But that's kind of got loose carts, complete, like new, sealed, all kind of mixed together. So it's really important once you find the game you're looking for to hit that completed auctions tab, and then you can kind of see a whole list of the recently completed prices. And I kind of find if it's a cart, you kind of just go with a cart price that's in similar shape. If it's complete, it really depends a lot on condition. So you got to find something that's in really similar condition to what you've got.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah, and then depending on where I'm selling the item, whether it's on a forum, on eBay, or locally, I'll adjust the value depending on the forum I'm using too.
So, I mean, a lot of times I keep in mind when I'm trying to do selling is that I'll go to, of course, eBay or price charting, but I also have to understand that, mixed in with that price that you're getting is there's eBay fees and another whatnots that are hidden inside of that as a seller. And when I'm in a forum or whatnot trying to do that, I mean, that doesn't really exist as a cost.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm always trying to go a little under what that is. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but usually I'm trying to go for like around between, or I don't know, like 10-15% under what that going rate is, just because that's what eBay would gobble up, and I'd rather pass that along to other people than have eBay eat that money. Well, what do you guys think?
Yeah, I'm in the same boat with that. It's there's my kind of order of selling trading is the first place it goes is the forums, because that's a community that I enjoy the most and I want to support as much as I can. And those prices end up being maybe 10 to 15% less than recent completed eBay auctions. That's, in general, sometimes it'll vary a little bit depending on the rarity of the item or, if you're trying to help somebody out or something like that. But then after it's been on the forums for a little while and it doesn't move, then it depends on, around me, stuff doesn't move on Craigslist very quickly. Like it just doesn't. But sometimes I'll try something if it's, a rarish item that I think might actually, move. But then after, a couple months of no movement on those fronts, then I'll go to eBay. But you're right, you have to increase the price by about 10 to 15% to see the same return you would, just because of the fees, because of the, the 3% PayPal fee you're going to get on top of that. Plus, the money doesn't clear right away. So it really could be like, 3 to 4 weeks before you see that money. So it's really the least convenient way to sell. But, your thing almost always will sell on eBay.
Yeah, the only thing that changes for me is I always try locally first because there's no retro store within like 8 or 9 hours of me, so I have a lot easier time moving things on Craigslist or Kijiji, and then go through the forums after. And then I've actually dabbled a little bit in Game Gavel over eBay lately, and I'm really liking them. So eBay's kind of my fourth go-to now.
Yeah, I just really don't eBay. And maybe that's just odd for me. I'm pretty patient, and really, this is my hobby, and it's play money. So it's not like I have something tied up in funds that I need. So a lot of times I'll just sit there, and eventually somebody usually is going to come along that wants the stuff, or we'll do a little trade out for something. And I mean, I understand if it's something that doesn't have a lot of value, sure, I'll swap it out for something else that I don't already have that doesn't have a lot of value.
Yeah,
But
I've bought off eBay in the last couple of years, but I don't think I've actually sold anything for nearly 2 years now. Maybe a little more. It's been a while.
and it just seems to me that you know I hear a lot of negativity around eBay as sellers. It's a lot of trouble. There's fees involved. It's not as nice and clean as it used to be. And I don't know. I've not used the tool a lot, but
It's definitely more buyer friendly than it is seller friendly these days, but the entire internet is leaning that way. Like my wife has an Etsy shop where she makes and sells jewelry, and she's been doing that for the last 2 years. And it's like every couple of weeks there seems to be like another change that it's like, oh, geez, like they're putting another roadblock up for sellers. So I kind of understand their point of view. Like they want their buyers to feel safe, secure, and like totally good about the transaction. So I know the internet's most sites, where you buy things online are kind of leaning more towards that way, but it is more of an inconvenience as a seller. So if you are not in a rush to sell, then you're much better off just, just bumping your sales threads in your regular forums, every couple of days. And I mean, I've had stuff sit on a thread for, weeks and months, and then, on some random bump someone sees it, and it's like, oh, I'll take it. So it's, if you're not in a rush to sell, the forums are where to stay.
yeah, I run into that all the time. I mean, I've got stuff that probably has been in my sale thread for 6 months. Not very many items these days, but yeah, that's it. You'll have this random, oh, hey, or you'll talk to somebody like, hey, I noticed you're putting that up for trade. I'm really interested in it. And maybe they weren't particularly looking in your sale thread, but they don't want that thing anymore. And they're happy to trade it for some other stuff you've got sitting around.
Yep. And also every time you buy something, just because something you have isn't on someone else's kind of want list, I still, every single time I make an offer on something, I say, here's a link to my sales thread. Let me know if anything looks good. Otherwise, let me know where I can send the PayPal. So,
Yeah,
and then once in a while, you'll just get somebody like, ooh, I'll take that for, $8 credit towards what you're buying. So,
sure. Now, when you guys are doing your selling like on forums, do you typically price your items on your sale thread? Do you leave that open and just wait for the offers and questions to come in? I mean, how do you guys handle that?
I've tried it open, and I find that people just seem to be scared away by them, and I don't get any responses. And then as soon as I have the same list of games, I throw prices on them, then I get floods of PMs right after.
yeah, it's similar. Like, I haven't had that experience where I put stuff up without prices, then add prices and get PMs, but I have even myself, like I'll pull up a thread and I'm like, oh, like I wonder like, what he's asking for this, or, and then it's like, oh, there's no price. And it's kind of like, because, and part of it is you really don't want to, and I say this to people when I make offers on things that don't hit the market very often. I say, like, listen, man, here's where this offer is coming from, because you don't want to be the lowballer, and it's,
Sure.
and even worse, like, you don't want to be the unintentional lowballer and then, just, maybe close a trading door. So, yeah, I mean, I do both. I mean, I've had things that I, have for offer, but, most of the time I do put prices on.
Yeah, now see, there's certain things that I will price, period. Like hardware, I'll price it because hardware prices just don't fluctuate very often.
Yeah, not really.
Not really over time. But I found like game prices can fluctuate pretty wildly within maybe a month, month and a half span.
Yeah.
So I usually don't try to put a lot of this unless there's stuff that is just, I mean, like, come on. I mean, like Atari 2600 cartridges, look at, it's a buck or work with me for a deal because, let's be honest, it's just going to be the value. And maybe if you get one over for me and I've got a rare one in there, then good for you.
Yeah.
it's just not happening very often. But everything is all over the board, but like Super Nintendo and like regular NES cards. I mean, like the prices are jumping around like crazy sometimes. It's hard to keep on top of that. And it seems to me that like, wow, it's a lot of extra work to try to keep a price list up all the time instead of, just come let me know if you're interested in something. I'm easy to work with.
Yeah, I mean, well, for you, I feel like your sales thread has a decent amount of stuff in it. I feel like that most of the time I only have like a handful of things, so that might make a difference in being able to keep up on pricing with like 5 or 6 things. Whereas if you have like 40 carts in your thread, yeah, I would imagine it could be a pain to kind of keep up with price changes, on that many carts on several forums. But yeah, I mean, I guess it's a rarity. I think plays or desirability plays a little bit of a part in that, because those titles, I mean, kind of demand a premium, so you can kind of put that price tag on them, and or actually sometimes the other way. A lot of times, like the cheapy titles will be listed like $1, $2, $3, and then like the big one is kind of like for offer. So because they, that seller definitely wants to see that $300 offer come in or whatever it is.
On the flip side of rarity there, do you ever find that you not lowball, but offer on the lower end of items that you have a higher chance of finding locally?
If I'm going to make an offer on something, I'm usually going to only try to buy something I can't get locally. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yep.
Like for example, I mean, I won't talk about the individual in this particular transaction, but I had a person messaging me and they want to know like, hey, I heard you're kind of looking for this cart. What do you think? And trying to work a deal. And they came to me, and I kind of told them a few times. I was like, and just really, maybe just not real interested. And they just asked, why? Do you mind sharing why? And I said, yeah, it's just that the price that you're asking for, I know if I wait around long enough, my local retro shop will have it for that price or maybe a little less. And I'm just not in a big hurry. It's not that uncommon of an item to find. So it's like I understand the eBay price says and the online price says, but I'm just not there. You know what I mean?
If I find an ad on like something like Craigslist for a fairly common game, something like Mario Kart 64 or Smash Bros or something like that, for like $15, and I can buy it for the same price online, I often won't respond to that Craigslist ad because I can get it online for the condition I want it in, the completeness I want it in, or I can just wait and find it locally again for half the price or less.
Yeah, I think that has to factor in, and I understand everybody's in a different area. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
From what I gather from folks, I'm in a pretty lucky spot where I've got places where I can go, and if I'm patient enough, I can find really good deals there. When I know some places, people are not in that kind of a place, so it's kind of like eBay prices or nothing.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not there, you know what I mean? So I'm not gonna sit and offer eBay prices on something that's fairly common. As you guys have your prices and whatnot, I mean, do you have these like rock solid, like, oh, price charting says this thing is worth $20, so it's worth $20?
Nope.
That drives me nuts when someone brings up like an eBay sale or something like that.
So how so? I mean, what do you guys think about that?
Well, when I'm making an offer, I always try to do it from the reverse. So like how would I like to be dealt with from someone making an offer. So when I make an offer, I look something up, and most times I will tell someone why my offer is what it is. So for instance, I was looking at oh god, I think it was Wild Gunman that I actually didn't end up buying, but it was a complete Wild Gunman from a seller. I think it was on Nintendo Age, and I had pictures of it and everything, and the condition wasn't great. So I saw and the thing is, it's a title that doesn't come up for sale all that often, complete with the box and everything. So I found a similar condition. It wasn't similar, but it was the most recent box that was gone, and it was like it sold for like $45. And I had some condition issues. So I sent him a link to the auction. I said, hey, this is the only recent completed auction I could find. It looks like the condition is pretty close, but yours has a tear and that one didn't. So I'm thinking like maybe $35. And, most of the time, the seller, kind of, they'll usually have a response, something like, okay, well, yeah, I don't really feel like, but like, I agree, I don't agree. How about 40? It's a negotiation. So
Yeah.
as long as you're reasonable, I think most people are cool with that. The stuff that when people talk about lowballers, they don't just mean that you're offering slightly less than what it's worth. I think they're talking about the kids that are out there, like, offering $5-10 for like everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I feel like if you can explain your offer and why you're sending it, even if the seller doesn't like your price, it at least keeps the conversation open because they know you're willing to work.
Sure. And I mean, I'll send offers on things sometimes that, I don't know, maybe some people would consider to be low, but it's what I have to spend. So, I mean, it's like, I hope they're not getting offended. I'm just letting them know, hey, if you're willing to sell it, this is what I've got to spend, and, I'll take it. And if you sell it to somebody else for higher, I mean, good. I'm not mad at you for that. Congratulations. I mean, I had another person did that. They were selling a particular game, and, I mean, all I had in my play money was a certain amount. And I just sent him an offer. I said, okay, this is what I've got. If you're interested, just let me know. And then, a little bit later, it's like, oh, it's sold for X amount. And I'm like, well, good for you. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not upset.
Yeah, yeah.
Congrats.
I think we've all had that happen where it's and same thing. You just don't want to get that. Like we talked before about how online reputation can really, really be a good thing. Like once people kind of like know who you are, and then like doors start opening, people start recommending you to their friends. Like pricing gets easier, so you really just don't want to get that label of like, oh, this guy doesn't offer a good amount of money or whatever. But there's whenever I send an offer that I know is lower than what kind of like the average is. As long, like I said before, I tell them why, whether it's condition or this or that or whatever, or I say, listen, or I'll shoot the offer out and I'll say, I know it's going, I've seen it go for a little bit more than that, but that's what this is worth to me. And then sometimes you end up closing that deal, and sometimes okay, well maybe next time.
I've had good success with that too, and I've also had some people where they just, I'm trying to spend a few $100 to make it worth their while, get a few dozen games all at once. So I'll make my offer based on completed auctions and buy it nows and etc. I'll take a little bit off for spending so much, buying in bulk and the condition or whatever, and I explain that just like Bill was saying, why I think it's a fair offer. and I'll literally get them come back with, a list of eBay links. Like, I want X dollars because these all sold for X amount. Yeah, I'm not budging.
Right. Yeah. And then like what I send back to them is I say, okay, so take that total amount, and now it besides like the time it'll take them to do it, because that's what you're saving them is their time. Like, just take 15% right off that number, because that's what they're going to pay in those fees. And so that's the thing with a reasonable person, you can usually kind of come to some kind of a arrangement, but sometimes it's just not going to happen.
Well, and I don't know. I mean, I'll be honest. When I get one of those replies, I'm just done. At that point in time, I'm like, I just don't want to deal with you. I mean, no offense. I'm just, that's why I always tell people, it's like, look, if I wanted to pay eBay prices, I would have already bought it on eBay.
Yeah. Such a good question. Now, so you said at that point you're done with them. Now, if you guys are ever to a point where you're finished negotiating, will you ever just not say anything ever again to that person, or will you at least send them I think I'm going to walk away from this?
Give them the courtesy of a response at least, yeah.
Right.
Usually so. If they're just being particularly jerkish, though, no.
Yeah, even if someone's being jerkish, I'll usually shoot them like I'm done.
Usually I do, but I've had a couple of people that have been annoying enough where I'm like, it's okay. I just really, and in the future, I don't want to deal with you again, so I won't.
Right.
Yeah.
If that kind of a person is a mark on my reputation, I'm fine with that.
Gotcha.
Now, have either of you ever received something specifically through a forum where you've got like no buyer's protection that you haven't been satisfied with, and talk to the seller to try and work out something to make it right after the fact?
I've not had that thing happen to me, but it's been the other way around, where I've sold things and somebody, like one time I sold a Super Nintendo, and they said, hey, the controller, the D-pad's not very good, and I tear them apart, I rebuild them, and maybe it was. I mean, I test them to make sure they work, but I'm not sitting and playing with it for like 5 hours or something. So I was just like, hey, is it cool if I just send you another one? And it was like, yeah, sure. So to me, it's like, I'll just send you another one. I'm going to fool with it. And I think there was another time where, I don't remember what it was. It was just something that was real minor. And I said, hey, look, can we just, I'll give you a partial credit back. Are you fine with that? And they were real happy with it.
Yeah, I think it only takes something small like that to make things better.
Yeah, and I got really positive feedback about it. I mean, I think that's, people just want to be treated fairly.
Yeah.
But have you guys had things like that where you bought something and it was kind of
twice for me, and the first time, I explained my why I was unhappy with it to the seller, and I asked him what he thought we could do about it, and he came up with a refund that was more generous than I would have wanted. He said, I'll either take the item back, or I'll give you like $30 back on it, and I was expecting maybe 10. So that was really awesome. But then I had another time where there was a whole bunch of little things wrong and one big thing, and I tried to explain them all to the seller, and he just immediately called me out and was saying I was, one of those people that always tries to weasel some money out of them after the fact. And like, I've been buying for years, and I've never had anyone accuse me of anything like that before, so it was kind of, I had to step back. I think that's the only person I've ever bought anything from that I would never deal with again. Once out of, like probably well over 100 now, so really small percentage of people like that I found.
Yeah, I take it back. I did buy a lot of things from, there's a big eBay seller that lives like in the town right next to me, big game eBay seller. So I just did a deal. I said, hey, I would like to buy some of these, but, can we both save some money if we do it off eBay, and I'll just meet and drive into town and pick the stuff up. And they were fine with that. And that was how I got my weird Color Dreams game with the Zelda 2 inside of it. But they were a piece of cake. As soon as I'd send a message, they were like, no worries. You don't even worry about meeting me. I'll just ship it to you. What's your address? Got another copy, and that was it.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was really good. I was like, yeah, that's wonderful. Thanks. No questions asked. It was just, okay, sure, no problem.
That's cool. Believe it or not, I've had some of my best refund experiences have been on eBay, from really good kind of reputable game sellers, and that's one of the perks with going with someone with a great reputation. One time, I just it was a Sosa Fan 2 is the name of the store.
Okay,
SOSA. Yeah.
That's actually the guy that lives in the town right next to me.
Is it really? Are you
Yep.
kidding?
Yeah,
No, I'm not kidding.
he's one of the biggest retro game sellers. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
huge.
He lives right over close to me.
So what had happened was, and he sells lots of lots of things separate, kind of like really really good way to fill in your holes, like manuals and boxes and carts, stuff like that. So
Yep.
I had a whole bunch of carts that I was missing, or sorry, a whole bunch of boxes. I was missing some carts, was missing some manuals. So I made a kind of like one big order, maybe like 3 or 4 carts and like 10 manuals or something like that. And made the order, and he shipped it out right away. And I was tracking it for a few days, and then it was, we've all had it where like it gets stuck at that one location and it's there for a few weeks, and it probably fell, between a thing and got thrown out, and it's in a trash compactor somewhere, and you're never going to see it again. So enough time went by where I said, hey, like I know you shipped it, but it looks like it's just stuck in limbo, and so like, and I wasn't expecting anything back. I just wanted to let them know and see what the thing was. So, he happened to have everything in stock, and he just wrapped everything up again and sent it to me again.
Yep, that's same experience I had with him. I mean,
so yeah,
he's a big dealer, so yeah, it doesn't surprise me that he's got a lot of that stuff in stock all the time.
Yeah, and then so the reverse direction on a forum, and I won't say who because it's a private situation. It's really not that bad, but I made a decent sized purchase, like maybe $80-100, and it was a handful of things that weren't crazy rare, but like slightly uncommon, like kind of nice little things to have. And like a handful of complete Nintendo games and a couple Sega items. And I just remember kind of getting the box and opening it up and not being, really upset with the quality, but just having kind of minor issues like, for what I was charged, I really don't feel like the quality was kind of there. But at the same time, I didn't ask for pictures or anything. I trusted the seller, so that's kind of on me as well. But then when I contacted them, I was kind of like, hey, I just want to let you know, I'm just not super satisfied with the overall quality compared with the price, but and then also one of the manuals in the games was a photocopied manual.
Oh, yeah.
And they said like, oh, like I didn't even know that. I'm sorry. And it's like, okay, yeah, no worries, and we'll just we'll try to make it work better next time. But nothing really kind of came of it from that. So it's you're going to deal with you're going to get these situations if you're trading online. So the more you can go off the seller's reputation, the easier it's going to be for you.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, let me ask this for you guys. I mean, how much does your relationships with other people play into your pricing?
Hugely.
How so?
I don't know. It's like if I'm selling a used car to a family member, I'm gonna charge them significantly less than to a stranger. If I'm selling games to someone that I've dealt with who's done me good favors in the past, whether it's sales or just favors on the thread, you're looking for information, they've been able to supply it, I'm definitely willing to give them a discount that I don't give just random Joe number 3.
And what about you, Bill?
Yeah, same thing. I mean, we've I feel like all because we're all at RF Gen, so that's part of the reason. But I feel like all the members who have been there for a while, kind of not only kind of know each other, but have done multiple deals. And I can't think of any major member that there hasn't been at least like either like a freebie sent over to them, or just like, hey, like kind of like that. Not to talk about that keep an eye out for me thread, but it's not just because the thread's there. It's because of how you've worked with these people before and that you want to help them out, and that and the whole community aspect. But absolutely, like, and my sister, I mean, like, I'm not going to charge my sister $40-50 for Nintendo. I just gave it to her, so it's, I mean, because you come across a Nintendo every couple of weeks, so right. It's yeah, I mean, absolutely, it's again, sounds like a broken record, but I keep going back to the better the reputation and the better your relationship with that other party, the better it's going to be for you.
And I should I got to rephrase mine just a little bit, because there have been times where strangers that I've never dealt with or had any dealings with in the past have given me good deals, and I have just I don't know, felt like in a good mood a couple of weeks later and just kind of paid it forward to someone else because that I've never dealt with before.
Yeah. But I mean, personally, like I'll know if somebody's particularly looking for something and I run across it. A lot of times I will message that particular person before I ever consider putting it on a thread. And I'll usually get, it's like, hey, and I know the price is like this. I'm willing to sell it to you right off because I know you're looking for it for this down here if you're okay with that. And if not, then sure, I'll put it up for a higher price on my sale thread. But I mean, a lot of times, yeah, I mean, people are like, yeah, that's great, thanks.
I get a message like that like once a week from you.
We all like shopping,
Oh, yeah.
so sometimes it's fun to shop for other people too.
Yep.
But yeah, I've done a lot of that. Relationships, like we've said, that really comes down to it, and that's tough sometimes on some of these other sites that are really big. I don't really have those, so a lot of times it's just like I feel kind of cold about it, but it's like, okay, this is the price.
Yeah.
But that's it. I'm like, I don't know you. I'll probably never deal with you again.
Mm-hmm.
These sites are so big. When you're talking about condition, right? So you've got to factor in condition when you're selling or buying things. How critical is it? I mean, are you willing to say, okay, I'm going to rate on price, or are you more also like maybe, look, this is the quality I want, and I'm not going to budge on that, and even if that costs me more.
You mean while buying?
Or selling. I mean, if you're going to sell things, are you saying, look, like I've seen, like little Samson is a little Samson. If the label's ripped, whatever, it still sells for X dollars.
Oh, gotcha. For me, it's a part of it is because I'm not, as you guys have said before, like I'm not rolling in dough.
We're all rich, Bill. Come on now.
Yeah,
we
right.
do this show. I mean, come on.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's where it pays for the house and the cars.
That's
but
where we're balling.
But then you got to eat. So, but yeah, I mean, there's been a few, decent sized purchases, but I don't have a ton of money. I mean, most of the money that I, spend on collecting is stuff that I pick up and, trade to kind of replenish the PayPal fund. So part of it is because I'm kind of a collector on a pretty tight budget, but I can't be super condition specific, and not expect to pay kind of top dollar. So I'm actually get to the point where I kind of get excited when I see something that I really want that's not in fantastic shape, but is in good shape, because I know that I can, get it for a decent price, and I'm not going to be embarrassed to have someone look at it in the collection and say, "Oh, did someone sit on that? Like, what happened to it?" So,
man, what happened to this Spider-Man Web of Firebox, man?
And okay, and here that's the other thing is with being one game away from the 32X set, almost all of the games are really, and I didn't go out saying, okay, it's going to be a 32X collection in stunning shape, but I just kind of got really lucky and ended up getting a lot of games in really, really nice shape. So, and I got a box upgrade, like I said earlier, on the NFL quarterback club. So now I have no fading. So now it's like, I kind of have to be a little bit more condition concerned with my Spider-Man, because how can Spider-Man be like the worst shape game that I have?
You can always upgrade later, though.
Yeah, and that's a good point too, especially for as we start talking to newer collectors. Don't be afraid to grab that like a nice item that's not maybe in the best shape, because there's so many cases where people say, especially like on Craigslist or eBay, oh, once in a lifetime,
yeah, whatever,
deal of the century, and really
rare,
it's more like deal of the month, or like, oh, you won't see another one of these this week.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're gonna see it again. As awesome as it, and there's exceptions, of course, but as awesome as whatever you're looking at is, you're probably gonna see it again. So if you can get anything for a good price that you can kind of move it for later, don't be afraid to grab something and upgrade later.
So what about you, Krabby? I mean, when you're pricing your stuff, I mean, how much do you take into consideration
when I'm selling things, I think I'm a little more critical than when I'm buying things, because I know there's some collectors out there that are extremely picky when it comes to condition. So I make sure to describe every little flaw that I can find in it, and I think I take a good chunk of the value out of my pricing accordingly, to reflect that. But when I'm buying, it depends on the item. If it's something that I can find any day of the week, and it's pretty beat up, I won't get it unless it's dirt cheap. And if it's something that I'm spending like over $50 on, I'm gonna make sure it's pristine. I don't want a placeholder. So if I'm buying like my Flintstones Surprise of Dinosaur Peak, and I'm paying what everyone else pays for it, I'm gonna make sure there's no rental stickers on that, no writing, nothing.
Okay. So,
And I will pay accordingly, whether that might be $20 more than the last one sold to get it in that condition. Then I feel it's worth it.
You said you were kind of critical than your own stuff. Do you think sometimes you're maybe overly critical and you kneecap yourself?
I probably have before, but I'd rather people know what they're getting and be happy with it than make that extra $2 that I would have made.
I think that's a great attitude to have. I try to stick with some of that myself because, those few extra dollars are not going to pay off in the long run, right?
Yeah.
Kind of when we get back to what Bill's talking about, like with that, oh man, the last game or whatnot, how much does that factor in with pricing? I mean, you're going out maybe to buy.
It's definitely a factor. Yeah, it's definitely a factor. Just the fact that you're one away, because it's when there's 15 games left and you see a Spider-Man on sale for $300, you're like, whatever, like I will see another one at some point for less than that. And then when you're down to the last game and it's the only thing that you're searching for, like because like at this point I'm not searching for 32X anymore. I'm searching for like just that one game. So
yeah.
It definitely makes a difference. I mean, imagine when you have one Nintendo game left.
Well, I'm down to 7, so I really understand.
So I mean, because right now, if you went on eBay or a forum or whatever, what's the cash money out of your pocket price right now for Little Samson?
If somebody offered me one for $300, I'd lose $300. I mean, it would be in a heartbeat.
Okay, so here's the next question. It's on sale right now for $375. Do you buy it?
No way. No. I can't. But that's just it. I can't. You know what I mean? Kind of what you talked about before. I'm not made out of money. I've got a wife and kids, so I've got play money. So to be able to have the money to buy something like that, I've got to do enough deals to earn that much play money.
Gotcha. So you don't sell something in your non-NES collection to make a quick $80 that because let's say you have like I don't know, a couple of systems or a couple like uncommon games that are not Nintendo that you can find over the next year or so. You wouldn't sell those for a quick 80 and just pay the $380 to have the last game?
I think I would go the other way. I would say, look, I know I'm not going to find it for $300, so I'll start doing those sales on those hard to part with items, get the money, and then I'm ready to go. Because trust me, $375 or whatever is not going to be hard to find.
Right.
At least at the moment.
Yeah.
I don't know. Next week, who knows? But do I have $300 of play money right now? No. But if somebody gave me that deal, yeah, I'm going to do whatever I got to do to shuffle and make the cash. But if somebody's just, maybe I'm going to knock a few bucks off whatever it normally, that's okay, because it'll still be there next week or next month.
Yeah. I
don't know, but again, to me, this is a hobby, and I also have to take the long view. I've been doing this a long time. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I didn't get here.
That's
overnight.
A good point. I think of that too. Like the few times a Spider-Man has come up, I'm like, oh, I'm so close and it's right there. But then I think long term, and I think, you know what? I've been doing this for a year and I'm one game away.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have it at some point. So and I also can recognize, and that's another, going back to like the actual topic and pricing and trading. One of the tools that price charting has is like a stock market type line graph that'll show you the completed prices. Yeah. Now, in most cases, the price is going steadily up. But what's interesting is when you start looking at some of the older systems like Atari, the 2600 in particular.
Oh yeah.
A lot of the games that spiked, you see them starting to come back down. So you kind of have that bubble of the people who, loved Atari when they were kids, and then they kind of reach that age where they have some disposable income. They buy some of the old, great games they used to love, And then that generation kind of, as they get older and the interest starts dwindling, the prices kind of go down a little bit. So there's a big group of people who think Nintendo's on a bubble right now. And if you wait a little bit, I mean, there's always going to be the big, huge titles that'll demand lots of dollars. But a lot of people think a lot of those big games are going to come down in the next 5 years or so.
I think we've mentioned it before on the show, Krabby and I, as we've talked, and I would agree. I think there are some things that are definitely on a bubble. Now, how long is it going to take the bubble to pop? I'm probably guessing an order of years.
Yeah.
Probably somewhere within 5 to 10. It's going to do the same thing Atari did, and you're going to see. I mean, Super Nintendo's already cruising up there, and then Nintendo 64 is starting to cruise up there, and those will each do the same thing, and then it's going to be PlayStation, and then it's going to be. I mean, that's it, because you're dealing with, just like you said, it's the nostalgia factor. People are grown. They got jobs. They've got disposable income. Hey, I want to go relive my childhood.
Now, because Nintendo's still quite relevant, though, do you think it'll follow that same pattern that Atari did, or will it just take longer for it to reach that point?
Yeah, I feel like of all the major manufacturers, Nintendo, particularly the NES, I feel like will hold its value longer compared to other consoles.
So it'll still drop. It'll just take an extra, decade or so.
Yeah, I think so.
Here's what I look at, though. If you're doing this for investment purposes, you've made a bad decision.
Yeah.
Okay, this is not an investment. This is a hobby.
Yep.
If you're in this for the money, then you're making quick deals and don't hold on to your stock.
Yeah, like flip stuff, like buy stuff at good prices, flip it immediately.
Yes, or within a month or two, because you don't know what's coming. I don't see this ending anytime very soon, but look, this collectibles just in general are just not a very good investment choice.
No,
it's very volatile.
Talk to the people who had tons of like baseball cards 20 years ago.
Yeah,
Comic
and they
books
were
too,
what's that?
Comic books too.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, everything in that collectible market that was huge 15 years ago is just it's not even it's not big anymore. It's almost irrelevant.
And that's going to happen in this market. I mean, whether you want to believe that or not, that's your choice, but it will happen, because eventually people are going to get too old and they're not going to care. They're going to have other things that they need to do with their money, like take care of their health or retire.
Yeah.
And they're going to say, look, I don't need this stuff anymore. And then there's going to be a glut, and that's what's going to cause the prices to go back down.
And another thing, not to get, say too far off topic, but I feel like once people complete that collection, and they've enjoyed it for as long as they care to, I feel like they might not feel as kind of like sad about selling off the collection, because like, you know what, I set out to do something, I accomplished it, I enjoyed this collection for a long time, I'm going to get it in someone else's hands and I'm going to be happy with that.
I think that's a good outlook. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, and I know just myself, I'm in it for the long haul. I love this hobby. I've loved it my entire life. I don't see that changing. If you're just doing it for nostalgia, that's great too. Buy some games that are affordable and enjoy them. Don't kill yourself going after these crazy ones, It's just not a good investment choice, if you ask me.
Right. Yeah, I agree.
So when we talk about trading, when you're looking to trade items with somebody, how much does actual value versus value come into the picture?
You mean when trading things of differing values?
Yeah, I mean, do you have to say, all right, look, my item on price charting is $100, and what you're wanting to trade me is $80, so you need to come up with that trade plus $20?
I mean, I've definitely had offers that have kind of gone that way. More often than not, though, I'll have a lot of common things in my sale thread, and I'm going after like an uncommon thing. And a common thing you'll see in threads, if someone has something that's of higher rarity, like say they have like a boxed stack up for NES, they'll say in there like 300 out, 350 or 500, like whatever they're selling it for, or like an item of equivalent rarity in trade. So, and what you'll see a lot is like, you can't they don't want like 20 or 30 carts for like common carts for one rare item.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're going to want like that, clay fighter sculptor's cut for the stack up, or something of equal rarity. I have had people, it's weird because I don't do as many trades as I mostly just flip stuff and then use the PayPal money to make purchases. But I have done a few trades where it's like the dollars are really close and they're like maybe $4 off. And if it was me being proposed a trade to, I'd say, okay, it's close enough. Let's just ship it. And the person's like, okay, like, can you gift me the $3.86?
Yeah.
My
gosh.
And I'll do it. Like, whatever. I got $3 to spend, but I'm like, it's just kind of, it's not off-putting to the point where I wouldn't deal with them again, but it's enough to make you go like, that's kind of weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of, I mean, sometimes the big parts I'll get into more is when it's like, okay, we're doing a trade, but the thing I'm shipping is really heavy and the thing you're shipping is not. So can you help me out a little bit with a few bucks? Just cover that shipping difference that I've got to eat.
Yeah, I mean, I've had that happen a few times where I'll work the, like if I'm sending like a 5-pound package and I know that they're sending like one item, then like I'll kind of work that in, like, and you kind of guesstimate.
Yeah.
So if you have like a zip code or whatever, I'm like, listen, I'm it's going to cost me about $10 in shipping, so there's this and that, and again, there's nothing wrong with kind of like throwing that in the offer sheet and seeing what happens, but it is weird because a lot of the first few times I did that. If you don't figure that in, it's like crap. Like that cost me like $15 more than it should have.
Yeah. What about you, Crabby? What do you think?
Most of the time when I'm doing trades, it's common or uncommon things for stuff of the same rarity. So if I'm getting 3 new games I want and they're getting 4 or 5, close enough. We're in the ballpark. I'm happy to get new stuff. I'm happy they're getting new stuff. But I did do one quite interesting trade a couple years back. With Ghost Soldier on RF Gen, where I had a card-only copy of Chiller that I had in my sale thread. I was trying to sell it for a while, and he really wanted it for his NES collection, and he's like, would you take something like Earthbound for it? And so rarity, these two are way off, and value, they're way off, but I was, so I'm getting, like, at the time it was like a $70 or $80 cart for something that sold for $30 online, but the chances of finding another Chiller are very unlikely, whereas he might find another Earthbound a couple weeks later. It's pretty common.
Sure.
So that was kind of a cool trade we did because there was a $50 price disparity, but value wise we both felt happy with the trade in the end.
Yeah, you both got what you wanted.
Yeah,
and I think that's important sometimes. Is it's not always just the nickels and dimes and dollars and cents. It's, hey, I really want this thing. You really want this thing.
Yep.
Then that's a good trade.
Yeah.
Exactly. Also with people who I've done business before with and like what I got it for has a lot to do with that as well.
Oh yeah.
So and we've talked about it I think on the show and off air, but if I get something for like Duke, he's done it for me. Like he's bought complete games at a local store for $5 or $10, and he's like, yeah, just give me the $5 or $10 plus shipping. So that's one of the perks of having a community of cool people. So if I get something, like if I found like a Panzer Dragoon for like $20 at a flea market, I know several people who'd be interested in it, and I'd probably shoot them PMs and say, listen, like $40, just like I'll hook you up with it. So
okay, Bill, you're crazy, and I'll take 3.
Well, I haven't come across one yet. I had a friend who was trying to sell his a while back, but I mean, you get my point. Like that was kind of a big example, but I
will do that. I will take. I mean, I'm not gonna go that great. I mean, if I get something really good deal and it's a very rare item, I need to make a little out of it, but I'm still gonna give you a heck of a deal compared to what you would pay for it. And I don't know. I think that's pretty fair. If you, honestly, Bill, if you came to me and said, hey, I'm going to sell you a Panzer Dragoon for $40, I would go, Bill, you're dumb. Don't do that.
Yeah. No. I meant $40 per disc.
Yeah. Okay. There you go. There you go. I would honestly just have to tell you, man, that's not a good idea. How about this instead? But then again, I know you. Maybe if a random person did that, I'd go, thanks for the Panzer Dragoon
sounds
saga.
Good. I've told you before about I missed the Craigslist. I think it was $120, and it was a Saturn. I think like 15 or 20 complete games, including Saga. And I missed it by like maybe like 20 minutes or something. And then another Saturn lot came up the next day for the same price, so it's still good. but it had the exact same stuff, just without Panzer Dragoon. So when I went to meet the
guy,
kid,
yeah, just flipped it.
I went to meet him. I was like, "You bought this yesterday, right?" And he's like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Oh, you're the guy." So he ended up being a nice guy, and we did a couple more trades after that. But yeah, as opportunities lost.
Right place, right time.
Mm-hmm.
That's all it takes. Yeah, I think that's really a good setup for a trade. I mean, I've got a couple trades I'm working with right now with a couple people over on RFGen, and you know, when we start going around value, I have to like, okay, well, this is kind of what this is worth, and this is, but I don't get hung up too much on that. It's more like, hey, this is kind of what I want. You look at my stuff, tell me if there's stuff you want, and then if you're happy, I'm happy. You know, as long as it's not like crazy off, you know. Because some of these things I did get a really good deal on. So, I mean, I'm not as concerned about, man, eBay says it's X.
Yeah.
I'm concerned about, that's the reason I got this stuff is trade fodder. You know what I mean?
When I first started, I kind of, you know, just trying to make sure everything was fair. I was kind of like making like spreadsheets and with dollar values and stuff. And then after like a couple of like tries like that, I was like, you know what? I'm getting 5 or 6 things. You're getting 5 or 6 things. They weigh about the same. Let's just do this, you know?
Yeah.
And it's
Does it feel good? Are you both happy? That's the important part, right?
Yeah. It's like if someone says to me, would you trade this for this? I feel like I should have an answer for that. My answer shouldn't be, well, let me check their current values, you know?
Yeah.
Because it's like, well, do you feel like you're getting a good deal? Yeah, I feel good about this. Pull the trigger.
And a lot of times I get that actually in the other direction. So I'll like put, you know, like I'll spend some money, like, hey, I saw this on your thing. Look at my list. Let me know if there's anything you're interested in. And I'll get maybe back, well, here's things I'm interested in. I don't know the exact pricing. Can you give me an idea? And I'm thinking, are you interested in it? It's just like, you know, I'm going to let you know if I think you're way out of bounds, but.
And a lot of times too, like if I'm interested in like, say like maybe like a whole bunch of stuff, and maybe they want like just like 1 or 2 things off my thread, then you have to find like that. That's what you were talking about before, where you have like, okay, there's trade plus dollars.
Yeah.
So that's where it gets, you know, where you have to start kind of counting the dollars a little bit, but still, it's like when someone says, okay, I want this, this, and this, what's your value on those? Same thing. Like you kind of look at completed auctions. I knock a little bit of money off. I consider, you know, how good of a price they're giving me on their thing, and then, you know, you just make a fair offer.
Sure.
I know some people, when they're checking completed auctions, they take like auctions as king and ignore buy it now prices. Do you guys care even about that?
I mean, I typically, it's a good point, because when you look at completed auctions, I typically don't look at like the average of completed auctions. I look at the lowest completed auction of similar quality, because like to me, that is so that just proved to me, if I am patient enough, even on eBay, that's what I can get it for. So if there's like a Panzer Dragoon this is what I was looking at pricing for a few months back. Panzer Dragoon, there was a few for 180, and there was a few for like, you know, like 320. So, you know, there's people saying like, okay, like offer, like asking 350 or 370 for it. And it's like, yeah, but if you're patient and if you're lucky, you can get it for less than $200. So for me, I tend to go on the lower side of the scale. But that's just the way I look at it.
Because to me, when I see buy it nows, unless I'm totally off, buy it nows are just there for people that have no patience, and they're always going to overpay. Am I right?
That's I think that was what he was alluding to, is because the buy it nows are typically higher than where the auctions are at. So if somebody, you know, just says screw it, I want to get it right now, and you know, that's what I'm willing to pay for it, then awesome.
So you don't factor that kind of pricing into your equations when there's enough price points that you can do both?
I would not. Personally, I wouldn't, because to me, that's the look. I'm trying to take advantage of a situation where there's impulse buys.
Right.
And I'm not trying to say that in a mean way. I mean, I don't think there's a problem with that.
I also get really nervous about whenever there's something that has many completed auctions and then has 1 or 2 completed buy it nows for a much higher dollar amount. I get really nervous about shill bidders.
Yeah.
Could be too.
Now, what do you think, using the buy it now as a gauge on more one-of-a-kind items, or items that only come up 1 or 2 times a year, when people put, you know, they put they want $10,000. They know it's not going to sell for that, but they put the best offer in there so that, they can wait for that huge offer to come in.
Well, that's exactly what that's all about. Is just I'm going to put a ridiculous price point in case you're an idiot, but really, the message there is I'm fishing for high offers, right?
Yeah. And I think most of those people, they say right in there, like, hey, I know I'm not going to get $100,000. It was just an attention getter. Like, give me a reasonable offer and we'll talk.
Sure. Well, it was like whatever, like that Zelda proto cart, right?
Yeah, and I think he ended up with $55,000 for that one.
Yeah, and then he put like his listing was like 300,000 or something crazy. I mean, that was his buy it now was something just ridiculous.
Yeah.
But that was the whole idea. I think really it started out, I could be wrong, but kind of reading Tom's stuff, it sounded like he was really just kind of doing it for fun.
Yeah.
But then actually got that, oh my gosh, offer.
Yeah.
So you never know. I mean, if you got something rare enough. And that's it. In the world, there are a lot of people that have a whole lot more money than I do.
Yeah.
And they can do that. They can say, okay, I'll buy a game for $55K and I don't care. That's never going to be me. And I'm okay with that. But yeah, I don't give much weight to buy it now. I mean, that's just me. And definitely, what I hate so much is on eBay, it's going for and it's always the buy it now price people are quoting.
Yeah.
Gosh, I'm like, just go away. I know, I think I was talking about this before we started recording earlier, but like, I keep that, and I've mentioned before, I keep that Craigslist ad out there all the time, and a lot of times, like I just got one today, and they're, I've got this, I got a regular Nintendo, and we got like 5 games for it. What would you offer me? I said, well, I'd offer you like $20. I mean, I don't know what the games are. I have no idea what any condition of anything is. But, sight unseen, I'll give you $20. And they come back, well, these are going for like 50 or 60 bucks on eBay. So, I just wrote a nice little message back. I said, good luck on your sale. And then I just did if I was looking to buy eBay prices, I would shop on eBay. And then I put Bill's little winky face in. But that's it. I mean, people have to understand, if eBay pricing is what you're asking for, then I don't need to deal with you. I'll just go click buy it now. I don't need to message you back and forth. That's why it's there, because it's no hassle. Click a button, it shows up your house.
Yeah.
So to me, don't ever go, well, there's a buy it now. I don't care. All right. If you want that, fine. Go put it on eBay with a buy it now and wait. I'm telling you, this is what I've got right now. I don't know. Maybe I take a hard look at that, but that's the way I feel about it anyway. And I have no issue at all if that's what you want to do. I'm not upset with you about that. It's just I don't want to deal with that personally. When you guys do that with your selling of items, I mean, how do you guys balance your pricing versus how long you really want to sit on the stuff?
For me, it has a lot to do with like how much actual space I have available. I've got several bookcases that my collection's in, and then kind of like one major section of it is kind of the for sale stuff. So as that fills up, and then especially as I get more and more hardware, and you kind of take that the shadow approach of picking up priority mail flat rate boxes because they're free and you can store systems easily in them. I say shadow, but I think all of us do that.
Good old Uncle Sam.
Yeah. Well, once I start getting like a small post office going in my basement, that's kind of when the pricing gets a little less, a little more aggressive as far as like I'll never resort to like
a fire sale kind of a thing.
Yeah, nothing like that. I mean, I think I did something similar to that once. Like I need to move this stuff. Like I really need to move this stuff this week or whatever. And that's when you're inviting lowball offers at that point.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And then I didn't realize that. And then someone said, "Oh, how about $10 for like these like 8 things that I have marked at like $5 each?" And I was like, "Yeah, I don't know if you saw, like I had them listed at $5 each." And they were like, "Oh, I'm sorry. Like I thought you had to move it like right away, so I just made an offer." And I was like, "Oh yeah, that's my fault. It's my first time, with that wording. I'll make sure I'm more careful." So, yeah, I mean, I never get to the point where it's like, okay, everything must go, any offer taken type deal. But for me, it's a lot of it's based on how much room I have to have it at my house, because I just don't want to be overrun with boxes and extra stuff.
Usually I sell things in like waves where I don't sell very often. So when I do, I kind of want everything out the door once. I want to deal with it as quick as I can. So I tend to price things a little on the lower end. And if I've got, just a bunch of random stuff that's not overly desirable, or maybe the condition's not great, that have just been there for a while, I will do one of those fire sales. Like I could probably sell it on eBay for $40 altogether, but I'll say, first 15 gets it. And I usually just move it out quick so I don't have to sell anything anymore for a while. The only really exception to that is something that I know I can sell for a reasonable price. I might sit on for a little longer, but usually I just want to get things out of here.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised I haven't been able to move my. I got an Alex Kidd in Shinobi World, that's been sitting for a good over a month now, and I saw someone else on Sega Age sell theirs in not quite as nice quality as mine. Sell theirs right away, so maybe I got to bump that thread a little more often.
Well, Bill, I also know maybe somebody that does a podcast with you that would probably love to trade. Doesn't really have much in the kitty, but would like to trade.
Well, I don't know. I don't have any of those Famicom disc systems yet.
I don't have an extra one either. I can point you to where you can get one affordably.
Ah, a three-way trade. I see what you're doing. You give him this, he gives me this. Everyone's happy.
Yeah, I don't know. No one's happy in those kind of deals. For me, I'll be honest, I kind of enjoy some of the selling stuff, so I'm never in a big hurry to move things. I mean, at a ridiculous price. I don't mind. It's kind of a fun thing to mess around with, as long as it doesn't get to be silly. I kind of like to pretend to play shop sometimes, and it can be profitable and kind of fun. So I don't really do fire sales very often. Now, we just kind of mentioned low ballers, right? So, man, what do you think about low ballers?
They don't really bug me because if someone shoots you a super low offer, Craigslist is kind of like where they live. I feel like for the most part,
I live there too.
Yeah, and that's the thing is when you send, and everyone does, me, I wouldn't send a low ball offer to somebody on RF or Nintendo Age or any of my regular sites, but on Craigslist someone posts, and that's the thing is if they list it at $120, I'm not just going to send them an email that says 15.
No.
Because that's what lowballers do. There's no words. They just speak in numbers.
Yeah.
So if someone lists something at $120, if it's a really if it's an item that I really want, but the price is a little bit off, same thing I'll do on a forum. I'll say, hey, I saw your thing. I saw that it's going for this. This is why I think it's worth $80. If you think we can work together, I can bring cash tonight. And then you're either going to get, a reasonable person who's going to be cool with that, or you're going to get links to 5 eBay auctions. To me, lowballers don't bug me, because they're very easy to ignore. But it is unfortunate when you get far enough in the process that I don't know, if it's tricky when pricing doesn't come up at the beginning of a conversation, and then you get far enough into the conversation where it's like, okay, well, what do you think about this? And it's like, oh well, and then you realize who you're dealing with. So,
Poppycock.
Is that what your quarters are called up there? Okay. Do you have 2 poppycocks for a nickel?
As a buyer, do you guys ever think there's a time and a place to be a lowballer yourself?
I kind of like what we talked about before with Craigslist. I do, because to me, I view Craigslist like a giant yard sale. You know what I mean? And that's why I put my thing out there, and I look. I make cash offers. I'll come to you and I'll buy. And I hope that sends the message that, hey, look, I'm looking to buy in big lots at cash money walk-away prices.
Within a couple of days.
In essence, I'm going to lowball. But, I'm telling people that right up front. I'm not hiding it.
Yeah, it's funny you mention that, because I think the appropriate time to lowball is at a yard sale, garage sale, or flea market.
Oh, certainly.
Sometimes there's vendors, and they kind of are asking, kind of up there, but and especially if it's late in the day. Because if it's something, it's rare that I ever find something at a decent at a garage or tag sale that's past 8 or 9 in the morning, because there's, as weird as it is, like there's no, it's hard for me to sell stuff on Craigslist even when I make the prices pretty good, but somehow there's this like group of people that I've never seen, I've just heard about, that make it to every one of these sales before they start. And I'm not the guy who, Crab, you talked about your yard sales or garage sales, but I'm not the guy who gets there 30 minutes before the thing opens and like begs the person to like buy their stuff and gets a really good deal. Like I show up at the time they say it's going to start or a little bit later. And there's a handful of times when it's like, hey, you said you had Nintendo games on the ad. Oh, there was a guy waiting here at 7 in the morning and I just sold them to him to get rid of them. So, but that's the thing. It's, if I go to a garage sale or tag sale and it's like 4 in the afternoon and they have, like a Nintendo and a bunch of games sitting there for like $40, it's like, it's 4 in the afternoon. That thing's not going to sell. I say, listen, I'll give you $20 for it right now. I mean, I feel like that's an appropriate time because people are trying to unload their stuff.
Yeah, I love the end of the days at yard sales because, they don't want to take things back in the house if they don't have to.
Yeah, very similar to retailers at the end of most conventions, because they bring as much stock as they can to the convention, and they would rather sell it to you at a discount than have to pack it back up and bring it home with them. So if you've not been to PAX or Gen Con or any of those things, don't buy anything till the last day if you're looking for a deal.
I would agree with that. When I went to CGE, I mean, don't get me wrong, I bought the stuff I really wanted up front, but
oh yeah,
I mean,
a lot of the popular stuff sells out first day, so you got to be careful with that.
Yeah, but as I'm walking out the door and they're like, "Okay, thanks, folks, show's over," and they're trying to boot people out the door, I'm going to the tables and I'm going like, "Hey, what kind of deal can you get me on this? Look, this is the only money I've got in my pocket. Will you take it?" And half the time they'll say, "Yeah."
Now, is it legit the only money you got in your pocket, or are you playing a joke?
In that particular case, it was literally all the money I had, because I wanted a copy of Wario for Virtual Boy, and they had a boxed one, and really the only money I had was basically one for like a loose copy. And I'm like, look, this is all I've got. I mean, seriously, this show is closing. Everybody's walking out the door. I can't buy anything else. This is all I've got. Will you take it? And they took it.
Nice.
Now,
I would agree with that.
Moving to the online area, I know you've done some of the lowball auctions at Cheap Ass Gamer. Yeah, maybe you can tell us about those.
Now, I really like those because they are lowballs. They're designed for that. So what people will do is they'll just look, here's this stuff, and that's it. They're just lowballs. There's like no floor for starting bids. I mean, people can start at a penny or whatever. And whoever wins, wins. I mean, that's just, if it's only going for 50 cents, congrats, you got it for 50 cents. So, yeah, they're really kind of this free-for-all open auction that's just whatever goes, goes, and that's it. So I really like those because the sellers know they're lowballs, the buyers know they are, and nobody is offended at the end of the day. It's just they want the stuff gone. I've got some money. Let's do it.
Yep.
So I would encourage it. And usually it's more like modern game stuff. And usually it's not real popular stuff. And it might even be like odds and ends. You know what I mean? Like a controller for this or this oddball manual for this Xbox game or whatever. But who cares? You throw whatever on it.
Find the right orphan you need to complete something for cheap.
Sure. And if you get a great deal, congrats. I mean, everybody's happy for you. But they run them pretty regularly. A lot of people do lowballs over there. So if you've not tried them out, I'd encourage it. They're fun because you don't have a lot of money tied up in things, and it's just kind of fun to play around and see what you can get. Have you guys ever done lowballs?
You mean specifically the Cheap Ass Gamer auctions?
Yeah.
I have not. It's we've talked about the site before, and I still have yet to I've been lurking a little bit, but I haven't really participated in anything going on over there yet.
About the same.
CAG's a lot of fun.
I've been lurking over there for years, but I haven't really involved myself too much.
Yeah, CAG's a lot of fun. If you're into modern gaming, really fantastic deals, and that's just it. Everybody knows when the site is called Cheap Ass Gamer. You know what I mean? Yeah. Everybody understands what's going on. These people are here to get things for the absolute lowest prices. And a lot of what they have is, more power to them, is a lot of the people are looking for ways that they can take things, buy it at a certain price, and then flip it for like Amazon credit instantly.
Mm-hmm.
And they make good money doing it that way. So again, more power to them. It's definitely a way to, some people might say that's gaming the system, but these businesses set their own prices. Nobody's taking advantage of them.
Yeah. To segue there, what are your thoughts on selling something to someone that you know is going to resell it or flip it right after?
I generally just don't deal with resellers. I've had people that will send me messages, and they've always surprisingly been really nice about it. But they'll send me a message like, hey, look, usually they're real upfront. I'm looking for resale. Is there any kind of deal you would cut me at reseller prices? And, usually my answer is no, but they've never been jerks about it. They've been really very upfront with me, like, hey, I'll clean you out, but it's going to be at resale prices.
Right. And that's just mostly because you're not in a hurry. You're kind of like acting like the reseller yourself because you don't like to. You'll wait to sell things for a price you're happy with, right?
Yeah, or trade.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a big thing for me too. It's like I'm not in a hurry to sell it because eventually it might be really great to trade with somebody, and I get a lot of good stuff through trades. So it's not all about money necessarily. And a lot of resellers may not care about the hobby at all. They're just looking to make money, and that's fine. I don't have any issue with that, but I mean, I enjoy the hobby.
So you'd have no problem with them buying your stuff for the price you're asking, though. You wouldn't charge them 10% more or anything goofy like that.
No, actually, I had a business contact me a while back and asked kind of what my best price would be, like on a big lot of things, and I gave him my price, and I haven't heard back. It was like some little record shop somewhere, and if they get back with me, great. But they thought it was reasonable enough, and maybe to them it is, and they could still mark it up where they were at and make a profit. I'm fine with that. I don't see that there's anything wrong with doing it. It's just I'm not going to cut my throat to make you money.
Now, I haven't run into this a lot because flea markets are non-existent up here, but I've heard of quite a few like horror stories on forums where people go to buy a game and the vendor at the flea market assumes the person they're selling it to is a reseller, so they refuse to sell them the item at the price that they would sell it to anyone else at. Now, that confuses me quite a bit.
Yeah, I haven't seen that. I've heard the same thing. I haven't seen it happen. I have had a few people at the local flea market ask if I'm a reseller, either when I look at my phone to check it against my collection, or like a long time ago when I had my binder with me. I have had a few people question that, but anyone who questions that, I show them my binder, say, hey, it's my collecting checklist. They're for me. Don't worry about it. Or or on the app, I'll show them the same thing. It does make me a little bit worried about how many people saw that and didn't say anything to me. So, I don't know if that changed their outlook on selling to me. But yeah, I mean, if they have it marked at a price, and if I'm willing to pay that price, same as anybody else, I can't imagine why they just not want to sell to me just because they think I'm going to resell.
So are you more careful pulling out your phone until after you've asked them about prices now?
Honestly, what I'll do is if I walk by something that's that I think I might be interested in, but it's not really like super rare or anything, and I'm not sure on price or anything, not in my collection or anything. For pretty much for whatever reason, if I have to check my phone, I will walk away from that seller, like two or three sellers down, until I know I'm out of eyesight, and then I'll take my phone out and I'll do the lookup that I got to do. And if it's, if there's any reason I got to go back to them, phone goes away, I go back to the seller, do my business. So I try to avoid them seeing me with the phone just because of that conception that they might have.
Yeah, I've been asked at flea markets and stuff if I was a reseller. But I've never had anybody that tried to I'm gonna try to get you because you're in the same business I'm in. I tell them no. I mean, I'm a collector, and it's kind of what I'm after. Now, does that mean I don't buy things to resell? Well, yeah, sure I do sometimes if it's a good deal, but I'm not dictating to you what your prices are. You're telling me. I mean, now a lot of times I like flea markets because it's all about haggling. A lot of times nothing is marked. It's just you're going to ask. And you have some of those vendors that are going to tell you that whatever you picked up, boy, that's the rare one that's worth a bunch of money just because you picked it up first. But then you have other ones that are just
cartridge. They don't make those anymore.
Or it's whatever you're interested in is magically the expensive one. But I have a lot of the ones that are like they'll have games mixed in with a bunch of other stuff, and they're not an expert on that, and they don't want to sit on it. They came there to sell it. You know what I mean? And those are the ones I appreciate dealing with. It's like, we're in the same thing. You're looking to get rid of stuff. I'm looking to buy stuff. Let's work a price. Mm-hmm. I don't understand. I mean, I feel the same way though. If somebody wants to pay my price, I don't care what you do with it afterwards. You can take it and burn it for all I care. I mean, I would wish you didn't, but it's not mine anymore. I don't have control over what happens with it. Mm-hmm. So, Krabby, do you ever deal? Is there any kind of resellers in your area or anything?
No, there's really nothing up here. There's the pawn shops, a consignment shop that deal with games, but they don't deal exclusively with games, and most of the owners aren't gamers themselves, with maybe one exception. Luckily, that one exception is a decent seller, and he'll work out deals with you, especially if you come into a store a lot. So I don't really have to deal with that at all.
Oh, cool.
It makes it really nice for me pricing things when I want to sell them on Craigslist, because there's no shop to compete with, so I can get a pretty decent price and move things fairly fast, even common stuff up here.
All right, so I think that's a really great discussion we've had on pricing and trading and kind of all that. And we really were going to get into some small budget collecting, but it seems like we've just really kind of exhausted our time a little bit. So we're going to save that for another discussion a little bit later down the road. But I think some of this that we've talked about is definitely going to kind of come back into play with that. So hopefully we'll come back to that topic pretty soon. All right, well, thanks everybody for listening again. There's a couple different places you can find us. We are on Twitter. You can just follow us at Collectorcast. We're on Podomatic, so rfgenerationcollectorcast.podomatic.com. We're on YouTube. You can search for Collectorcast. My channel is DukeTogo74. We're also on Stitcher Smart Radio, so you can get the app at stitcher.com/rfgeneration if you want to get our particular podcast with that, and we'd appreciate it if you'd enter the promo code RFGeneration. Also, of course, we're on iTunes. Please do us a favor and rate us if you're on there. I did notice that we had 2 ratings so far for the show, and both of them were 5 stars.
We're about to have 3.
Very good. And just let us know what we're doing. I always appreciate the responses, but nobody had made any comments, so let us know. Put that on there. We really appreciate all the feedback that we get. And of course, you can always find us at our home base, rfgeneration.com. So if you're not a member, come on, join. It's a great collecting tool, as we've talked about before. The forums are really great, and we'd love to see you over there.
And come buy some of Duke's stuff.
Yes, well, thank you very much. So thanks a lot, guys, for being here. I appreciate it. So until next time, Krabby.
Looking forward to it. I'm going to spend my time curling in between our podcasting sessions.
Are you going to get some loonies and toonies?
And take them to the Bonspiel? Yeah.
To the crab spiel. That should be your gaming group.
little poppycock in there somewhere.
Only if I'm lucky.
And again, it's been nice having you, Bill. As I mentioned at the beginning, I think we're probably just stuck with you. So thanks for showing up again.
Yeah, as I was thinking of it earlier, is what do you call a guest that just doesn't go away? They're a host.
Well, and again, thanks everybody for listening, and we'll catch you guys next time.